Right. We also have to go and do this thing. There we go. Okay. Hello. Welcome, Art Lad. Good to meet you. Hi again, Tice. Remember you from last night. There's Woomy Thing and Splaunch. Pug. Hey, Jim, how are you? I'm doing okay. I'm a little out of whack right now for reasons that I will explain as the stream goes on. But I think I'm doing okay. I think the crab special getting right to business here. The crab special will be best suited for frontline, backline, or support weapons. So the crab special seems like it's going to need to be a little bit further back to be max efficiency. It's something that you don't want people to be able to cross up, like the kind of like the hammer, but with projectiles. So like the way that you beat a hammer is you strafe around it and you hit it from the side or behind. Crab is kind of the same deal, except it wants to be a little further back so it can use its like Explo projectile and its long-range shots to hit you. It also probably wants to have high ground so that it doesn't have to try and fire uphill and curve shots in an awkward way. So it's looking like it's going to be better for something like a midline Slayer, like something like a Rapid Blaster would get a lot out of it, it seems. How's the content grind going? Whole brand new account is right, level 1. Hi, Bab. Slayer Explorer bust. Oh my god. So here we did an odd thing. And I don't know if I actually messed something up by doing this, but I haven't, at least I have confirmed I have not actually overwritten my save file, but so this is my main account, but it's linked to a different switch. You see, this is the Schlorp page. And so it's like counting my actual hours there, but then when I load up as that account, it's level 1. So the Splatoon save data hasn't carried over. I don't know how this works. I might have made a mistake. This might not, but we're gonna find out if I've screwed something up, I suppose. So the vote, which took place on Patreon from all of my Patreon supporters, was based on the nominations that were put out by Twitter. So if it didn't get posted on Twitter as a nomination, it didn't end up on the poll. And I put down and listed them in the order of the number of nominations they received. So the highest any weapon got was 3 nominations, and so those were at the top, and then 2 nominations, and then 1 nomination. And the Patreon supporters voted based on that full list of like 22 weapons or something like that. What ended up winning in the end was the Explosher for Rainmaker, and so that's what it's going to be here. Now, the Explosher does not unlock until level 18, so we've got a ways to go, but it's a little bit more of a chill stream day, I think. And there are some topics that I was like, okay, yeah. There are some topics that I think would be interesting to talk about. And so, since I've got some of that to talk about, I figure we've got content. We don't need to just make a video or something out of the grind. Like, we actually got something we can discuss in the meantime. So, I'm just gonna be. I'm actually really curious if the friend code is the same. It probably shouldn't be, I would think. Huh. I wonder. But I can't check that right this second. Actually, I think I can once the game starts. I should be able to just pop in here and be like, what's... Is the Franco the same? The Franco's the... What? That's bizarre to me. Why are the friends all the same, but I'm on a level 1 save? Oh shoot, wait, I haven't messed with my sensitivity. It's all off. Oh god. Oh, this is gonna be hard. Oh god. I should die. Okay. Whew. This is interesting. These players aren't total beginners. You can tell that there are definitely some mechanics that they've already picked up. Which is for the best, I suppose. I wonder how much of that is a factor of just this being late in Splatoon 2's lifespan, and whether it's actually taking data from the fact that I have 5k hours logged in this game on this profile. And it's like, hey, maybe we should bump up their matchmaking just a little bit. That's interesting. Since your saves do not carry over, you may have started a new save on a different Switch with the same user account. The other one may not be effective. We have run multiple Switch accounts. So, what you're saying here, Kobia, is that this is fine for our purposes, because we will ultimately be able to go through the whole unlock cycle and everything without affecting the main account at all. I could have snapped to that if I had full aim sense, but I was having to, like, both twist and use the right stick, so I just couldn't get around fast enough. Say hello to Oreo Queen, the 269th best player in the world, before she lost 3 games and like 70 points anyway. Hi! Congrats on hitting top 500, though. Good stuff. Alright, cool. We ended up winning. Eh. That didn't do anything. There's a roller behind me, but that doesn't matter at all. Okay, so we're gonna go and fix our aim sense. If it's on a different Switch, your main account and your typical Switch should be unaffected. Okay, cool. How's it going, Lewin? And hi, Adam Mortis. Frontlining V Junior. Yeah, it works if the other players are unfamiliar with the game. Oh no, it didn't undo the frickin' restream. Work with me here. Okay, I think I can X out of this and it won't shut the stream off, but if it does, I apologize. Okay. Now, let's reopen that and check on the chatbot. Commands are turned off. Okay, fingers crossed. You know what? I'm just going to disable chat timers. That should stop it. Welcome back, DD Deluxe. Okay. Let's get this fixed. I don't know when I'm ever going to use handheld mode, but it's going to be set for when I'm there. Okay. Much better. Do you like dragons? I do like dragons. In fact, I was just talking to someone the other day about how much they like dragons. They're pretty cool. Full sensitivity? Yeah, that's how I've always played. Not always. That's not true. For the last probably 80% of my time with the game, I have played this way. +5/+5, I think, is optimal, ultimately. It's a little bit more difficult to get used to, and there are backliners who I think have a very good case for wanting their sense just a little bit lower. But, I don't know, I think that there's just always going to be a time where someone's going to sneak up on you, and you're going to want to be able to snap on them. Anyway. Ooh. There's a lot going on right now. Oh, I thought I was going to get some of that. I'm not going to lie. Gem is the guy screaming, "Dang, he's hot." What? Alrighty then. Well, I appreciate that, I suppose. that had kind of the vibe of Squidward being like seeing a picture of Squilly, or no, it's somebody, he like thinks, I'll just imagine him in his underwear and that'll make me feel better, and then he goes, oh no, he's hot. I kind of had that same vibe to it, like, oh god, wait, why? This isn't okay. Okay, fine. You like that. How are you on my ink? Get out of here. Simps, a lot of you. I don't mind simping. People make money off of that. Mostly kidding there. Mostly. Cool. But, ooh, there's a Woomy. Thank you for the Woomy, Toothless. I really appreciate your Woomy. Ah! Oh. Neat. So, something that got me thinking today. Now we've got some people here, and I can start story time. I have this bad habit where I'll always start story time, and there'll be like nobody here, and then it'll just show up like midway through the whole thing, and be like, oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'll be like, yeah, you know, that makes some sense because you haven't been here. But I figure I've contained myself for long enough now. We've got 100 messages in the chat, like Restream has told me. That's actually something that I'm probably going to be talking about in a second, but Explosher and talking? Sign me up. Well, here we are. I don't really have a registration sheet for you, but you're here, and I appreciate that. Hi, Thea. Crazy Australians. What time is it in Australia? They're like 16 hours ahead of us or something like that. So that would put them at about noon, I think. Noon on Monday. So some of them are skipping school to watch me, but that's fine. Oh, Jamie. Okay, so Jamie can join in on this, even though this is bizarre. How this kind of creates two parallel universe gems. Okay, well, At any rate, Explo on Rainmaker will be difficult. I have no idea how it's gonna be, but it's gonna be hard because I don't play that weapon. Anyway, so story time. There was a really amazing video that I watched on YouTube today by Super Eyepatch Wolf. I'm sure some of you guys have probably heard of him. Really big YouTuber. Videos generally take the... Oh, somebody DC'd, and I have... Jamie was in the game. Are they on the other team? Okay, anyway. So, Super Eyepatch Wolf, really well-known YouTuber. He does a lot of videos in the vein of, here is this thing that I think is cool, and here's why I think it's cool. You know, usually revealing something about it that wouldn't have been immediately obvious to people who know that thing already. Which is, I am a sucker for that genre, as I think most people are. Because everybody loves hearing people talk about the things that they love, but even more than that, people love finding out something new that makes the thing they love already even more lovable. And he checks both of those boxes, so I think that's super sick. I think he got his start as like doing like anime reviews or something like that, but it's since branched out into all sorts of things. His video on the fandom of Undertale is also very interesting and I think well made. So anyway, he made a video about influencer courses, like things like Skillshare type deals where people sell their like classes on how to become an influencer more successfully and increase your numbers and all of that good stuff. And he spends the first bit of the video talking about how all of that is a hot load of garbage, which it is. Like, it is unfortunate that, like, in order to discuss a lot of these courses and stuff, you have to actually name drop the people who are making them, which only ultimately is increasing in their notoriety, and notoriety, you know, any press is good press, even if it's bad press sort of thing. You know, it's helping them out. But, you know, there have been a lot of people recently who have been taking shots at courses like this from the likes of someone like Andrew Tate, and that's part of why I slipped it into one of my videos, too, for a brief moment there on the squid bagging video. Like, just insecure jerks who are trying to capitalize off of other people's insecurities by telling them that they have the magic pill that will all of a sudden reveal the algorithm to them, and they will magically be famous and rich and happy. But famous and rich and happy, importantly, in the brand of the YouTuber who is offering all of this. Like, here is what fame and pride and everything looks like. You have to do it in the way that I possess it, you know? You're going to be famous because you're going to be in Team 1000. You're going to be a personal friend of the Paul brothers. You're going to serve us in our media conglomerate, and we will give you a fraction of our fortunes. And it gets really uncomfortable and really gross really quickly when you start thinking about it. So, all of that absolutely deserves to be broken down, destroyed, lambasted, laughed at, whatever. And that's perfectly fair. But something that was really eye-opening, I think, for me was the section he goes into after that. Because, mind you, this video could be 5 different YouTube videos. It could be, like, a feature film. It is a feature film in length. And it could be, like, 5 different 20-minute YouTube videos that they've all got some real meat to them. So that's, like, the one criticism I would ever make of it. That's, like... I almost feel like you'd get more people to sit through the whole thing if you just broke it up into sections, and you'd also save yourself some time that way, because uploading one of those once a day would be like... when people see a 2-hour YouTube video, they look at that and they're like, okay, well, I could... Okay, I'm gonna end up in an Etsy video now. That's cool. Anyway, people look at a video like that and they're like, okay, would I rather watch this YouTube video or would I rather watch a feature film? And a lot of people would understandably choose the feature film idea and don't come to YouTube to spend that much time on one thing. So I look at that sort of a video and I'm like, wow, that's a long time investment and I want to watch that, but also I don't know if I will ever get around to it. Whereas 20 minutes, yeah, I can spend 20 minutes on something. But today I could spend 2 hours on something. Today, I promise this is actually relevant to the topic at hand. Today, or last night really, but like 2 a.m. or something, I got back into a game that I played a long time ago called Cookie Clicker, and some of you may know about that game. Cookie Clicker is a Skinner box. Cookie Clicker is an idle game. So for those who don't know how an idle game works, the entire purpose of the idle game is to get the number to go up. And over time, you can, by clicking on a cookie to bake more cookies, you end up being able to purchase things that will bake cookies on your behalf, that will click the little icon for you, instead of you having to click it yourself. And so you click a few cookies, and 15 in, you get this little clicker finger that does some clicking for you. And then the next item you unlock is a grandma, which costs 115 cookies. Cookies are the currency, and also the point of the game. You unlock a grandma who makes cookies at a much faster rate, 1 entire cookie per second. Oh my goodness, that's so many cookies so fast. And then it just starts getting crazier from there. You unlock cookie farms, cookie mines, cookie factories. It gets even weirder and more existential after that. You can find ways to convert light directly into cookies in the late stages of this game. You open a portal to the Cookieverse. Eldritch beings come into your world to sample your cookies, and that's actually a game mechanic. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff, but the thing that I learned from Cookie Clicker is how it's kind of, maybe it's a commentary on how capitalism works, maybe it's a commentary on how people are programmable. There's a lot that you can say with talking about Cookie Clicker, but I do not recommend that anyone ever play Cookie Clicker. It is literally an absolute waste of your time. Nothing good will come of you playing Cookie Clicker. Like, at most, there are some speedrunners who run it. But even then, they've probably played such an ungodly amount of this game where the only mechanic is click cookie, watch number go up, that, like, I cannot recommend anyone play it except for to have the experience of being sucked into a Skinner box. And now I need to explain what a Skinner box is, because this story needs too much damn context, like anything I ever talk about. When I was in school, I studied psychology. I was interested in becoming a therapist, and so there were a whole bunch of introductory courses that I had to take. I ended up dropping that career path, as you can tell from the fact that I am talking to you from the internet, and instead decided at the time to become a teacher. So I ended up just minoring in it, but there's this dude Skinner, like that was his last name. That's where the name comes from. They're not, it doesn't refer to like actually skinning anything, thankfully. But what he did was he was trying to study how creatures learn things. And so what he would do is he would take an animal and he would put it in this specially designed box where if they performed a certain action, like pressing a button, for example, is a really easy way to think about it, or pulling on a lever, just whatever was easy for that animal. Thanks for the follow, Eisen Lattice. Appreciate it. Whatever it was that that animal could easily activate, if they pressed it, they would receive a food pellet. And so they would learn that whenever they were hungry, they could just press that button and get food. But then what he also did, besides just that simple experiment to see how the animals behaved, and they behaved pretty predictably. Whenever they were hungry, they would just push the button, get food, and probably get a little bit fatter because they're probably going to eat out of boredom, if nothing else. But another thing that happened was he tried making it so that instead of every single time you press the button you get food, he also made it so that maybe you have to press the button 10 times before you get 1 food pellet, or 100 times before you get 1 food pellet. And then he made it so that it was semi-random, so that you have maybe a 1 in 50 chance that this next time you press the button, it dispenses a food pellet. And he messed with how the, what the correlation was. Thanks for the subscription, frames per second, appreciate it. He messed with what the correlation was between, the reward system, like how often it was you were rewarded and stuff like that, and, how the animal behaved in response to that reward system. And one of the really scary things about it, and one of the things that explains a lot of human behavior, is that the semi-random one is actually really, really powerful. I remember when I was like 3 years old or something like that. When it was nighttime, and I was being a little baby and just like wanted my mom to come in for no damn reason, and I feel so bad for her now because it's like I literally am just preventing her from sleeping. That's all that's happening here. There's no I'm getting like some little bit of comfort from her being here, but I should be asleep anyway, and she should be asleep, and we should both be resting, and now she doesn't get to rest. Anyway, it's silly, but whenever I wanted my mom to come in, I didn't know that, you know, what a baby monitor was or how it worked, because I was 3. My brain was not developed enough to understand that concept. But I figured out at some point that if I just, like, quietly repeated, like, a call for my parents, that eventually they would show up. I could have just spoken the word clearly and firmly into the baby monitor, and that probably would have prompted a response more quickly. But I just kind of murmured it under my breath like 100 times, 200 times, 1,000 times. It must have seemed completely crazy. And eventually one of those would get picked up on the baby monitor. Or maybe they were listening to it the whole time and just like, okay, he's been doing this for 5 minutes. Whose turn is it to go and get him? You know? So that brings us to content creation, because content creation is a Skinner box, and it's a Skinner box. The crazy thing is for both sides of the coin, for both the audience and the creator. And I think that the side that's for the creator isn't explored nearly enough, just because there aren't as many people, I guess, that are on that side of things. Because, you know, everyone talks about, oh, clickbait thumbnails are the worst thing since unsliced bread, and you know, that's something that's well explored and has been for some time now. But I think the way that a big company like YouTube and their monolithic, you know, unanswerable algorithm, the way that it interacts with content creators is very similar, very manipulative in a similar way. It has a lot of the same problems as a system like that. And that's something that I haven't seen explored that much until Super Eyepatch Wolf went and made this video. So that's something that's been on my mind a lot recently, because anybody who's been watching my channel has seen my output ramp way up. And I'll show you guys in a second. I'll show you my YouTube analytics. That people seem to like seeing that sort of thing because they've just like never been exposed to it before. And I always thought that maybe there was some kind of reason not to show your YouTube analytics, like, oh, this is like, you know, there's some closely guarded secret here. You can't let your winning content formula be seen by your competitors. And as I've come to realize, one of the really cool things about content creation, nobody's actually a competitor with you. Like, there are people who make similar things, and you want as many of those people as humanly possible. Like, it'll tell you on YouTube, like, it even has a section on the analytics, like, which YouTube creators are similar to you? Like, who shares the most of your viewers? Like, viewers who like your content are going to tend to like Prochara, for example. That's the biggest correlation with mine. SRB2 Dude is right up there. Kiver's up there. I think Vic Villain is up there as well. Like, you know, a lot of the usual suspects, of course. They're all Splatoon YouTubers. But, like, the thing that didn't click with me about that at first was that, like, I want Prochara to be as big a channel as it can possibly be in order for my channel to be as big as mine can possibly be. Because as soon as more people are watching Splatoon 2 content, more people are going to find my content. They will go from Prochara, and like as soon as they like a Prochara video, it'll start recommending other Splatoon YouTubers, maybe me. You know, if they go down that rabbit hole, they'll find me. And so I want them to find as many of those people, and seeing them as your competitors is weird and silly. So it's like, okay, what if someone takes my ideas and tries to use them to build their own channel that competes with me? If that happens, my channel does better. That's good for me. So, like, why not just share every little thing that I know about how to do this with anybody else who might be inspired to do it? So, we'll talk about that a little bit in a second, and I'll show you, but, for anybody who's been paying attention to the channel, like, I've been uploading a lot more videos than usual. This channel started as, like, a bunch of, like, long-form video essays that would take at least 2 months to make. Usually more than that, because I had a full-time job besides doing this, that I was engaged with, and so video editing takes a lot of time, and you know, probably my least favorite part of it is just clicking the little rectangles around and taking the hours and hours that it takes to make those happen, just to make something happen. But I digress there. It's like, making one takes a long time, and I used to make really big, really good ones that I was really proud of. I had the script down to a science. There's my freshness bonus. I'm going to drop off on that one and pick up another weapon to get another freshness bonus. And now the content is a lot more regular, but something that, you know, everybody notices, and, you know, I'm just going to say it outright, when you start uploading more frequently, is that, like, if you compare a carefully scripted video that took, like, 2 months to make to a video that it took 1 day to make, because that's the time that you had, you're not going to get as good of a video out of that 1 day upload. And people will complain about that at first until they get used to it, until they either drop off or decide to deal with it and keep watching. And the content has changed a little bit, and it's, you know, largely in part due to that reason, but I'm going to show you guys kind of what's going on under the hood after I unlock the T-Tech. I've got a T-Tech now. Be afraid. We'll take the V-Shot too. We'll take the C Junior. That's all I'm really interested in. I mean, I could play the Splat Dualies, but I'll have unlocked so many other weapons that I'll probably like more before I get there. So, okay. How do you get the freshness bonus? It's so you can see in the upper right-hand corner there, that way up there. It says dry. It has a picture of my weapon, and then there's the 0.0. Every win, you gain a variable number of points. Or no, every win you gain 1 point, sorry, and every loss you lose a variable number of points in Turf War. So right now, in its current state, if I win 1 game, I gain 1 point. If I lose 1 game, I lose half a point. Once I get to 5.0 on that meter, I get a freshness bonus, and that number jacks up. So now instead of gaining 1 and losing 1/2, I only gain 1, but now I lose 1 full point. And then that goes up to the next freshness level, at which point you lose 1.5, and it just keeps going on and on and on and up and up and up. So an optimal way to kind of grind experience here is to play for freshness bonuses. 3,000 experience is more like twice as much as I'm getting out of any regular game. And as long as I just win games repeatedly, which I can do because I'm level 4 but also have 5,000 hours of experience, I can, in 5 games, get an extra 2 games worth of experience, and I just have to keep getting new weapons in order to raise that up. This is a tactic that I learned way back when I was working with Bravest to unlock weapons for the... we were actually going to do... like summer camps for kids, like programming for kids, and we were trying to figure out how to unlock the weapons that we would want so that the kids would have a variety to choose from on the switches that we had without having to take like 100 hours on each switch to do all of those unlocks, because that's how long it takes to get all the weapons unlocked. It is not a fast process at all. I think it was like 136 hours, and that was with me at X rank playing through it. Like, that's with me being able to win a lot of those early matches, especially. Somebody who's losing more matches early on, it's going to take even longer than that, so that's a huge pain in the butt. Anyway, YouTube analytics. I should have this set up so that it's showing pretty well. Okay, yeah. There are some things that are off screen, and that's mostly just because I've got a bunch of like bookmarks and tabs and stuff up there that we don't need to see. So on YouTube, you go to here, and this takes you to YouTube Studio, and ooh, look at all this, all these numbers and things. So this is what the channel looks like right now. And I think that this is a Skinner box, first of all, that we're looking at right here. Like, this is made to make me as a creator feel a certain way about the content on the YouTube channel. Like, this curve right here, what happened here was some shorts started getting picked up in the algorithm. You can see here in the last 48 hours, this video has been seen 46,000 times. That is largely what caused... Oh, hi there, cat. There's a cat in my lap now. That is largely what caused this upward curve. And now they're getting suggested at like the same level, and it's just hard plateaued. And so it's like... It's got all these numbers and these arrows and everything that are here to show you, like, look, you're doing better. Keep going. Keep producing more content. God, you are being really inconvenient right now, buddy. It's got these little green arrows that show, hey, you're doing better than usual. Keep it up. And sometimes you'll get this little, like, trophy thing up here, like, your channel is doing better than usual. Great job. But there's other stuff, too. So, like, this is the latest content, and look at this gray arrow, like, ooh, this isn't performing as well as videos usually are by 12 hours and 53 minutes in. This is... And, like, here's the thing, right? What am I supposed to do about this exactly? The only thing that's, you know, this would suggest to me is, like, maybe this isn't working, maybe try something else. But... Oh my god, cat. The thing is, this video is being compared only to videos exactly like it right now. Maybe there's the squid bagging video out there, but like most of what I've been releasing is just this exact kind of content made exactly the same way with the same workflow and the same thumbnail strategy and everything. And like, nothing's really going to change about that super hard. So like, why worry about any of this? And that was a point that Super Eyepatch Wolf made that I really vibe with a lot. So you can see, oh my goodness, I made $150 in a month. And if you're a kid, maybe you think that that's a lot of money. If you know how much rent costs in your city, you're looking at that like, holy crap, he is losing a lot of money. And that is exactly what's happening right now. But that's okay. I understand that I'm losing money, and I have a plan for how much money I can lose before I decide to move on to a plan B. And that's the important part here. If you ever do want to go into YouTube, like, realize you're going to have to put up with a lot of this line being very low before it ever does something like this. And even once it does something like this, that's not going to be it right away. You're not just going to be rich and famous. So let's look at the lifetime numbers here for a sec. So, like, the channel started back here. And granted, we didn't really do a lot with it back here. But it went for a really long time. And then right around here is when I start making the how to get out of ranked videos. And so they're still really small. And then this right here is, I think, like A or B rank video. So one of those popped off a little bit. You can see there's just not a lot happening until very recently in terms of the view department. But that's not really what's important. Let's look at watch hours, because I think this is actually more representative of how well the channel is doing. Okay, so this spike right here is the S Plus video. And this kind of like, you get individual videos that perform really well, and then all of a sudden, like, even though it's going to go down after that spike, you can see what it goes down to is a lot higher than the average was before, and that's kind of how it works. So as each like big video goes out, the line gets a little bit bigger, and then a big video, and then the line gets a little bigger. But then if you do daily uploads, it just spikes around like crazy and kind of starts to do this gradual, like almost exponential curve that's starting to happen here. And so this is why I'm doing the daily uploads, because even though this one video was absolutely massive and by far my biggest ever, like these are the numbers on this video, just eclipses everything that I've ever done on the channel. This is what I'm getting from just doing daily uploads now. And that's why, you know, you'll see a lot of content creators that you know doing daily uploads instead of doing big projects that they really love to do. That they're getting rewarded for this. They're getting rewarded for watch time, and if you put more content out there for people to watch, even if they watch it less, there's the volume of it is going to overwhelm quality of the quality of like a 2-month video, since you're not uploading anything else in the meantime while you're making it. So that's, I think, about all of the interesting pointers that I can make off of that. But hopefully you found that somewhat interesting. And here's Cookie Clicker. And I want to point out some similarities, actually, in how Cookie Clicker works versus how that screen works that I just showed you. So that right there was a golden cookie. And every time a golden cookie happens, all of a sudden for the next 77 seconds, your cookie output is going to be significantly increased. So you get 7 times more cookies for everything that's happening. So before, you could see that I was in, I think it was like the couple, like 200 million cookies per second or something. But now it's at 1.5 billion, and there's gold light around everything. And when I click, oh my god, that's so many cookies. Look at how many cookies that I'm making with every single click. This is insane. Wow. And you get really, really excited, and you look out for these sorts of things, because if you miss that golden cookie, you never get this opportunity to see the number go up so high. Oh my goodness, I'm in the 1 trillions of cookies. This literally does not matter. This is a number going up on a computer screen. There is nothing that this will ever earn me. But look at how cool it looks to have such a big number. And that's kind of what YouTube ends up being like. Like, I'm already at a point where it is difficult to fathom how big my numbers are. Like, just how many people are watching things that I made at any given point in time. Like, you can look at my subscriber count update live in real time when someone new clicks that subscribe button. Like, today, like from the end of yesterday to today, 150 people who I probably will never meet in my life have all clicked that they want to see more of my videos. That's like, I think about that as a teacher. Oh, I think someone unsubscribed. Okay, we're going back down one. I think about that as a teacher, like, oh, there's another golden cookie. Oh, and I got 195 billion cookies. Oh my god, that's so cool. And I'm clicking again. I'm going to open a portal to the cookieverse, and then we're going to get even more. Woo! Yeah, that's enough of that. But I think about like how many people I was able to reach as a teacher, because one of the things that's a benefit about being a teacher is that you get to like see those kids grow up. Like you get to see them change in front of your eyes, because a child is different from the beginning of the school year to the end of the school year. They just developmentally, that is such a significant proportion of their life, and you get to have an impact on them throughout it, which makes your impact really outsized compared to, you know, some like YouTuber that they watch one video of. But the volume of people that I'm able to reach is already staggering, and I'm not even making a living off of this yet. So like, you think if we get this to be even bigger, the number of people that I'm reaching is just like unimaginable at a certain point. 150 people from today, that's an entire class, like, that's all of the students that you're going to be working with in a given year. That's 5 class periods of kids. And I just added those in one day. That's so wild. And you start seeing videos that trend into like the tens of thousands of views, the hundreds of thousands of views, the millions of views. Some videos even get to billions of views. What does that even mean? What the hell is 1 trillion cookies? What the hell is 1 billion YouTube views? It's a number that like human brains are not meant to be able to comprehend. We're not machines that can just... How many zeros is that again? We measure it in the number of zeros. Such a weird, abstract way to measure value. Like, because like, what are you supposed to do? Like, measure $1 billion in terms of $1 bills? Like, I don't know how large that stack is. There's probably some like infographic online that would explain it. But like, it gets to a point where you have to ask yourself, like, okay, why are we doing this? Not like, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Like, because there are other ways to make money in life that, for one thing, are a lot likelier to succeed, a lot more consistent, that come with, you know, benefits like health insurance. Health insurance would be really nice to have for free right now, and you can get that from some jobs. So it's like, if you're gonna do YouTube, are you just gonna do it because you want to see the number going up? Because then you're literally just polluting for no reason. Like, you are using up energy that people are making from power plants to make the computer go burr, so that you are able to post something for the sole purpose of people clicking on it, and that resulting in you making money. And that's what like a lot of influencers end up being. They're just people who exist to generate clicks. And whatever it takes for them to get kids to click on their videos, they're going to do it. And they're going to do, you know, the craziest things that they possibly can to achieve that goal. Like, you know, very problematic things. Like, they're not necessarily going to be stewards of mainstream culture. They're not going to go and, like, teach the kids well if that's not something that's going to result in them getting clicked on more. Bad behavior is often rewarded in that system. And I don't want to be a Logan Paul. I don't want to get into all of the crap that those people have gotten into. And so you got to have a reason to go and do it. And that reason should be something other than getting famous. It should be something other than getting views, getting clicks, getting money. And that's what all of the people are advertising on these influencer courses. So, big long ramble with a lot of different tangents that I could have taken off to you know, make a point of it. That's what's been on my mind lately, and that's something that I want you guys to know that I'm thinking about, because I do have a reason other than trying to make money. In fact, if I were trying to make money, this wouldn't be the first way that I'd think to do it, if that was the only goal. Obviously, I would like to make this a living, and I've made that a stated purpose of the channel, but I want it to be a living of mine because I want to be able to do something with this channel, with whatever notoriety I am able to earn with it, and also be able to do it full-time. I want to be able to speak about a lot of different things. And, wow, I'm actually surprised I hit that shot. I thought I missed it. I want to be able to talk about a lot of different things and be able to keep doing that without having to spend, 90-hour work weeks grading papers as I teach a prescribed curriculum that I did not decide on. So, I don't know. There's a certain amount of arrogance built into any endeavor like this. Like, oh, so what you have to say is worth more than what other people have to say. I see. And you'll get all sorts of fingers pointed at you for that. But I'd love for people to find value in that, because the creative process is really, really fulfilling. Like, I am able to kind of be an artist by doing this sort of thing. It's not a word that you necessarily associate all the time with a YouTuber, an artist, but, like, you would call a filmmaker an artist of a sort, and what else is making YouTube videos but making videos? So the self-expression that comes with it, I think, is really important to me, and something that I enjoy doing. And so having an opportunity to have that avenue of self-expression be what I am able to make a living out of, that's really what I'm interested in, what I'm aiming for. But Super Eyepatch Wolf had some really good warnings for me about how I need to be careful that I don't let those numbers, those graphs, become my source of self-esteem. That I enjoy what I'm doing not because it made graph go up, not because math, but because I made something cool and I was able to profit from making something cool. So that was a lot. Down with numbers. Nobody likes numbers. I've just angered a math teacher. I realized that. Oh, golden cookie. There's a frenzy on, guys. There's a frenzy. I'm clicking the cookie. I'm clicking the cookie a lot. It's making cookie go big. Yeah, I'm going to close out of that window now. Where the heck is the save option? I know that there's a save option. There it is. Okay. There. X power is a number. Now we're thinking. All right. Now you're getting there, Zucchini. This whole thing was a lead up to me telling you about how ranked in Splatoon doesn't matter. But, like, think about this game. Think about this video game that we are playing right now. What am I doing currently? What in this exact moment, what am I doing? I'm level grinding. I'm in another Skinner box. Because the reward at the end of that Skinner box is a thing that I want. I want to be able to play the Explo. I don't get to do that unless I get through this Skinner box that has been designed for me. Like, it's important to see those systems when they pop up and realize that, like, these aren't things that people are making because people, like, want society to be better for them existing. These are things that exist because they make money. These are things that exist because there's profit to making them, and nobody has like gone and proven them to be unethical enough for a government to stop it from happening. And that's not necessarily the best metric for whether something is worth doing. That was really weird and laggy. Do what you love and you'll never work another day in your life. Or, alternatively, consider this. Do what you love and it will become work. That is a thing that happens to some people. You know, that's one of the dangers of content creation. That you go from doing something because you think it's cool to doing something because it makes your numbers go up more than the thing that you thought was cool. You know, some ideas, yeah, okay, maybe that's not resonating with the audience as much as I thought it was, and I'm going to stop for that reason, but some of the best advice that I ever got about YouTubing was, like, once you've got some videos that you look at and you're like, yeah, this is quality, literally ignore your metrics. Ignore all of your numbers and graphs and things on an individual video basis. Look, if anything, at the channel's overall growth over time, and even then, that's mostly just so that you can gauge, like, is this going to be financially viable at the end of it. But it's I heard that and I internalized that at first, but I'm not sure that I actually agree with that necessarily. There are definitely ways where you can take something that you love and ruin it by attaching money to it, by monetizing it. This, fortunately, has not been one of those things for me. But then again, you know, it's not my full-time job yet. It's not, you know, something that can actually pay the rent right this second. Bit older than you, been smart with my can going out versus coming in. So I'm in a year and a half love freedom to do whatever I like. That's awesome. Yeah, retirement does sound pretty dope. I've got some relatives that have retired recently, and they've been like, yeah, I do not hate being retired. This is pretty sick. What about comments and feedback from these people who make the numbers go up? That is also a big part of the video that Super Eyepatch Wolf talks about. He talks about Andrews. So for every, you know, 100 comments that you get, maybe, there's one Andrew. There's a guy who just says something nasty to you. Calls you a name that no human should use in the English language. Says something just needlessly hurtful about you. And that when you're, you know, my size, it's really easy to just block that one person. But multiply your video times 1,000 views, now there are a lot of Andrews. Too many Andrews for you to reasonably block. And a lot of those Andrews are probably going to make secondary accounts anyway and get around being blocked. So there's no winning in terms of numbers against all of the Andrews. And the Andrews are going to make friends with each other and become more effective Andrews and more dyed-in-the-wool Andrews for all of that. So it's something to think about. I have been fortunate that there's not an awful lot of, like, negative press on my videos. It's like, you'll get someone who just does not get the point of the channel and will be like, well, I already knew that this was a technique. And I'm like, cool, good for you. What's the point of telling me this? I'm aware that some people already know this. In fact, I learned it from people. Am I supposed to be the first person who's ever discovered this fact about the game in order to present it to others in an intelligible way that makes it easier for beginners to learn the game. Like, you get stuff like that all the time. You get a lot of, like, immature responses to things where it's like, okay, look, like, I get that, like, I have to not be toxic and stuff, but also, God, sometimes it's just so fun to like, squid bag some new streamer and, like, make them want to quit. Like, you get some stuff like that where it's like, okay, so you do not understand anything that I have just explained. But that's okay, because I am not responsible for you being a good human being. That falls on your parents, and they knew what they were getting into when they decided to have you, so that's fine. Well, you know, if I'm your teacher in a classroom environment, then yeah, you become my problem for one school year. And everyone acknowledges that a teacher is going to have to put up with some of that, and we have a good amount of professional training for putting up with it, so that's fine. I haven't gotten a lot of people who have tried to, like, get a little bit too weird romantically with me, or, like, stalk me, like, harass me consistently. Like, I haven't gotten any of that sort of thing yet. And I know that is a possibility. That's a thing that can happen. And I won't say I'm not, like, worried about something like that happening. Like, obviously that sucks. But I think it's something that I can handle. So I'm not especially worried about that for now. What does Super Eyepatch Wolf have against guys named Andrew? There was probably an Andrew that actually did this. Either that, or he's got a buddy named Andrew, and he's like, hey, you're going to be in my next video. You better watch so that you can see what I think of you. And then he just turns Andrew into, like, it's like a hidden jab at him or something. That would be funny. I don't know. Above a certain income level, earning money itself becomes a Skinner box. And that was... You know, what I was saying earlier, like, this is honestly a commentary on capitalism. Like, because really, at the scale that things are produced in a nation, you know, the only group of people who are benefiting from the numbers being in the trillions, which, again, unfathomable number for any one person. The only people who care about numbers like that are, like, the heads of big governments who are trying to outcompete other big governments. And so one of the big drivers of, like, geopolitics is how can we mobilize our people to create as many resources for us to be able to use in establishing our world agenda, whatever that happens to be. You know, whether we want our country to grow in size or influence, whether we want, you know, to be foremost in conversations about how things should be run, whether we want more access to resources for our people as opposed to other countries, you know, whatever that happens to be. What helps them win that contest the most is by having their numbers be the biggest, have the biggest GDP they can possibly have, gross domestic product, the overall output of their countries. And so one way of making it so that their people are going to do that for them without them having to ask nicely is to make their economic systems into Skinner boxes that reward people for working themselves really, really hard. And that's something that's been criticized about America for a good long time, that it's a rat race. It's, you know, our work culture is too extreme, that people don't get enough breaks. Like, why the heck do women not get maternity leave? It's because we want to have a bigger Skinner box than everybody else does. And ironically, that's one of the things that we always... You know, by we, I mean, you know, the American school system, because I was a government employee for a good long time there. One of the things that, you know, the pro-capitalist teacher will always tell about socialism is that, oh, people are working for slave wages and not, you know, they're going hungry. And granted, we can make the argument that, you know, the United States is a better place to live in than Soviet Russia was, under Stalin, for example, because he was one of the most evil people who ever lived. So of course it is. But I find it kind of funny that we'll say, you know, here's how evil that was, but then also have this cult of, we need to be productive at all costs. If you're not rising and grinding, then, you know, time is money. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Like that sort of thing is like, it's a valuable lesson to learn on an individual level, like holding yourself to those kinds of standards is a really good thing, especially in pursuit of your own goals. Holding other people to those standards might not be fair or realistic. So, anyway. Your thumbnail on Twitch is cookie clicker at the moment. That's amazing. That's everything I could want. There's a program that was once created to block out all of those accounts and words at once. I don't remember. We might be talking about like the Andrews at this point. I'm scrolling pretty far back into the chat. I'm just trying to figure out types of content to make. As a very, very small creator, really not sure how to find content to make that wasn't done already. It's making montages getting old. Absolutely. One of the hardest things with content creation is finding a niche. And educational Splatoon content was something that happened to work really well because there wasn't a lot of it, and what there was frankly not great. For the very specific thing that I do, which is bridging players from a beginner level to beginning competitive level, so like getting them through the I am brand new at this game to the point where they might consider starting to play competitively. That's generally the niche that I'm in, because that's what I have the most expertise to be able to talk on. There's like nobody else doing that. There's like an occasional dude video where he'll explain something like how motion aim works, take 15 minutes to explain what I will explain in 2 minutes, but also frame it in the context of being a competitive player. Like, I legitimately, there are a lot of good things that dude does for the community. I don't think teaching the game to beginners is one of the better ones. I think that there's a lot to be asked for in that department, and part of that is because dude is so damn good at the video game that it's really hard to remember what people actually struggled with at first. And I didn't actually learn any of those things until I literally researched it. Like, I did what like a research scientist might do and went and ran an experiment, which was I played at the lower ranks and took notes on all of the patterns of behavior I was seeing that weren't working. Like, nobody else was doing that, and so I'm very unique in that very specific regard, and that's part of why my content has taken off as much as it has. It's not to say that I'm huge or anywhere near as big as dudes, but like, because I'm doing something that people weren't doing as well, it worked. If I'm trying to do the same thing that somebody else is doing, yes, on one hand, you know, them making content and growing is going to help my channel in that it's more likely to make that thing get recommended. But like, why would they watch? Why would a viewer decide to watch one over the other? So I know I said that there's like no competition per se, but it's more like you find yourself a space where there is no competition exactly, because you're doing the best version of whatever it is that you're doing because nobody else is doing it. That's kind of how I would think about trying to find a niche. And what it also boils down to is like your skills and your experience. You need to bring that in because that is what's going to make you unique much more quickly. If I were just trying to be a good player, there are other good players who are better than me being a good player. Only the top players get to play the good player card. But I am a decent player who also happens to be a teacher. So I'm like actually good at taking a concept and explaining it to someone who's a beginner in that concept. Because I've gone through the pain and turmoil of failing to explain something that I know so well that I can't teach it anymore. And I've gotten around the horn to the point where I can actually take something and distill it into its more basic components and convey that to someone in a comprehensible way. I asked earlier, but are you close to getting affiliated on Twitch? Affiliate is the easiest damn thing to get if you have any sort of following already. It's not easy if you're starting absolutely from scratch, but like, even just going over from my personal channel to Squid School, like, if I just, you know, gone straight from there to Squid School without any of the YouTube stuff, it would have been easy for me to get affiliate. Like, affiliate requires you to have an average of 3 viewers per stream. I'm averaging like 45 on the weaker streams. Affiliate is not a problem. The problem is that if I get affiliate, I can't multi-stream. I can't stream to both YouTube and Twitch at the same time. If that exclusivity were to be removed, I'd be affiliate in a heartbeat. Because there's monetization on Twitch that I'm missing out on for that. But the monetization on Twitch that I was getting before was like maybe $100 every 6 months. And y'all saw the numbers on the YouTube screen. That's $145 in 1 month. That's not a lot still, but it's a heck of a lot more than I would be getting on Twitch. And maybe that would be different if I were doing like sub goals and like asking for donations and a lot of other things that really skeeve me out because they feel like something Logan Paul would do. But right now, this is the right move. And if I get to a point where there's a partner agreement on the table for me, and that might be worth it, then maybe I'll do that. Because you don't have to, like, just completely quit YouTube. You just can't multi-stream to YouTube if you have that exclusivity agreement. But for the time being, I will not be going affiliate, and it is for that reason. And I understand that there's some parts of the YouTube, or the Twitch chat experience that are impacted by that. Like, you aren't going to get channel points for, you know, being with this channel. There aren't going to be unique emotes that I'm going to be able to offer you guys. But I am more a YouTuber than I am a Twitch streamer. And so, for that reason, I'm not going to be affiliate in the near future. Yeah, if you'll notice on all of the tweets or the like Discord notifs that I make, I list both the Twitch link and the YouTube link. That's why, like, on the stream, you'll see there's a YouTube logo and a Twitch logo next to every chatter. Because some of them are coming from Twitch, some of them are coming from YouTube. The YouTube streams are better. That is way too vague a thing to say without more clarification. Like, better for what is a question that you should be asking there. The word good, the word better, like I do have a whole video about that, but that's a different story. You really need to question more carefully on what metrics. Like, for example, Twitch streams have a culture of people like supporting and donating to the streamer that you're not going to find as much on YouTube streams. Like, people don't make donations to YouTube streamers quite as often as they do to Twitch streamers, and that's changing because they've added more options for that. But that has been a weakness of YouTube streams for a while. YouTube streams are also way worse for discoverability, which is crazy because, like, Twitch is also terrible for discoverability. But at least with Twitch, there's like a front page. And if you can make it near enough that front page, people will just kind of browse and find you. On YouTube, people already have to have seen your content to really ever get it recommended to them. Because, like, who's going to find a stream from a channel they haven't subscribed to? So there are definitely advantages to Twitch. Now, Twitch has been getting mismanaged recently, frankly. I have this not just on the authority of, like, streamers who have moved over from Twitch to YouTube. You know, like, Ludwig has been saying this for some time, and you're going to be hearing this from all of the new streamers who are switching over. It's like Valkyrie switched, Saikuno switched, Lily Pichu switched. Like, there are a lot of people who are making that transition, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's some contractual agreement on their part to make that at least somewhat positive. Like, once when I was teaching at a school, I had to sign a contract that said, because it was a charter school, I had to sign a contract that said I would not say anything bad about that school, that, like, they could sue me if I slandered them, which is crazy, and I hated having to sign that thing in order to be hired by them. And knowing, you know, what I know of the world now, I probably would have played hardball with them and tried to negotiate my way out of that clause before actually signing on with them, if I were to get hired by them again. But that sort of thing might happen. All of that being said, I have it from, you know, people who are very knowledgeable about Twitch. Like, from being in the Smash community as long as I have had conversations with some pretty famous figureheads in that scene. It's not to say that, you know, they would remember who I was if you were to ask them today, but the fact is that I've been able to get close enough to them in the context of casual conversation, and we've been able to talk about, like, what's going on at Twitch. And a lot of what's going on is that, like, the people who are getting put in charge now of, like, managing Twitch are people who are there because they want to have the company on their resume before they move on to get hired by other Fortune 500 companies. They're not there because they love Twitch, they understand Twitch, they are a part of Twitch culture, they know what would work and what wouldn't work on the intuitive level of someone who has been a long-time Twitch viewer. Like, there's so many things that you can look at that Twitch has done and be like, why would they think that that would work? Well, because the people who are coming up with it just don't have the familiarity with it. And so it's that's been an ongoing culture problem with Twitch, and so they've been making a lot of bad business decisions lately that people are starting to complain about, and that's starting to drive some streamers away to their competitor, YouTube. Because Twitch and YouTube used to be a lot more symbiotic than they are. It used to be that every top content creator was streaming on Twitch and then posting highlights to YouTube, and that was just always how it worked. But then as soon as YouTube dipped into streaming, now there was some incentive just not to use Twitch at all, especially with, like, some kind of partnership agreement or whatever that you're able to cut once you get big enough. Thoughts on Explo kit for Splatoon 3? I can talk about that, but it's such rampant speculation that, frankly, I don't think that my thoughts will mean anything once the game actually releases. I can't, analyze the game from a top-level perspective like Chara can. And even then, like, Chara, mind you, is, like, one of the brilliant masterminds of, like, the NA metagame. Like, Chara was using bamboo before, or like, putting bamboo into comps before it even got MPU, because he saw the potential in it. He's kind of the mad scientist. And even then, I have a feeling that a lot of the things that he's speculated about aren't actually going to come into fruition because it's just so damn hard to predict the future. Like, that's not to take anything away from him. He's a genius. He's one of the better Splatoon players in the entire world, you know? He's a top player. That means something. But even a top player, I don't think, is going to be able to really understand exactly how specials are going to change the game when they come in Splatoon 3. What we can do is look back at older games and kind of think, okay, what philosophy did they have for the game design then, and what philosophy they're gonna have for the game design going into the future. There's a really, really good stream, at least in terms of the ideas presented. It might be a little rambly. It might be a little bit full of curse words that you might not want your parents to hear if you're on the younger side. But there was a stream where FLC was breaking down, I think it was the gameplay trailer for Splatoon 3. And he's talking about special design and how Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 differed in that sense. Splatoon 1 special design was a lot more about individual playmaking. It allowed you as an individual to suddenly just have an outsized amount of power so that you individually could just win a fight for your team. Like Kraken, you can just kind of 1v3 if you pop a Kraken. And there's not a lot the other team can do. If you're a junior and you're positioning well around your teammates, you can pop a bubbler and single-handedly win what would otherwise be a losing fight. So, like, that's something that Splatoon 1 had. Whereas in Splatoon 2, okay, there's Inkjet, but Inkjet is very likely to get shot down unless you pair it with armor and pair it with your teammates moving up with it and supporting it. Yeah, you've got armor still, which is similar to Bubbler, but it's a global special that goes out to all of your teammates, so you don't exactly have to be in the right place at the right time. You can just pop it from somewhere, and it does things. They made it so that you are a lot more dependent on your team in order for your specials to work. It's a lot more teamwork-oriented. And that sounds cool and good, but something that the top players are pointing out in that conversation is that it makes it feel less cool to make a good special push. Like, you feel like, okay, well, I just did the right thing and my teammates happened to also do the right thing, but I didn't really have that much control over how well that fight went because, yeah, I popped the missiles that started it, but my teammate followed up on it, and the guy who gave me armor really helped me win this fight, and it's like, it doesn't make you feel as powerful for doing something right. And sometimes you can also do something right and not be rewarded for it as much as you would like to be. The things I hate about Twitch is how multi-streams work. Yeah, that's... Obviously, you have to, you know, as a company like that, you have to think like, all right, if we give up market share, you know, if we make it so that we're going to play nice with our competitors, is that going to make it so that we eventually get outcompeted, have to stop running our service? Like, I get that. Like, if I am building something that I think is the best version of a thing, but I make it so that someone can have both mine and another version, a competing version, like, I might be jeopardizing my ability to continue making my version the best version. I might end up, like, losing that impact that I have on the industry. I might end up losing the ability to continue doing what I want to do. So I don't necessarily blame Twitch for a practice that is a little bit anti-consumer if it's going to allow them to still have their product in the long run. But I'm also not behind boardroom doors, and, you know, maybe it's just a greedy cash grab that's hurting them in the end. Because it's definitely making it so that I'm not getting affiliate. It's discouraging me from doing something that they could monetize. So maybe it is the wrong play for them and they're just blind to it. I don't know. Oh, squad streams, not multi-streams? Yeah, that should be something that's open to everybody. Like, the fact that that's partner only is insane to me. It cannot be that hard. It cannot be hard to roll that out for everybody. Like, imagine what people would do on Splatoon with that. they would get a squad stream where you have 4 people in a league lobby and you're able to see all of their perspectives at once, and that would be sick. There are like 3 people who have ever gotten partnered off of playing Splatoon on Twitch. Like, it's such a vanishingly small number. And like, a lot of them will get partnered and then use that to move on to streaming variety instead and get a lot more viewers that way anyway. Like, Misclick was a really, really big Splatoon streamer and an important facet of the Splatoon community. And nowadays I see her playing more like Valorant and Overwatch than anything else. Like, I don't think I've seen a Misclick Splatoon stream in like a year or something. If so, it hasn't been much, and it has been a while. So the ability to engage in a squad stream is just like hard capped by whether you play the right game. And that's lame. Why is that a thing? That's such a cool feature. Just let people have it. Let people make better content. Thank you for the donation. I really appreciate that, bunny hugger. Do you have any tips for dealing with over-perfectionism? Enough to feel comfortable starting to play competitively while keeping the drive to learn. That is something where, personally, frankly, I have never dealt with that. I have always had the arrogance to feel like, yeah, I can go and try that. I'm good enough to do that right now. Like, there are definitely times where I'm like, okay, I don't know enough of this that I am going to feel, like, happy with what I do. So, for example, I wasn't trying to get into the competitive community when I was C rank because I knew that it would make more sense for me to learn the game more first before I ever tried to do that. And really, my interests weren't aligned with that yet either, so that's another issue. But the thing is, like, for me, it hasn't been as hard as it is for other people. Something that I would say is, like, a reality of the situation is that you will never be good enough to start if that is your stance right now. Like, there will never be a point at which you are satisfied with your skill level if you struggle with perfectionism now, because you will struggle with perfectionism later. That's I have a video out about people talking about getting good at a game. What does it mean to be good at a game? Really? Like, does that mean you're top 85%? Does that mean you're top 1%? Does that mean you have played for like 3 hours and now know what all the buttons do? It's different for different people. And usually it's relative to that person what that actually means. Like, a good player might just be a player who is as good or better than you. And that's one of the more consistent definitions I've ever heard. It's also one of the more useless definitions I've ever heard. So, that's the first thing. Like, what is good enough? What the hell does that even mean? Like, if you have a goal, why should your current skill stop you from going after that goal? But the other question and the real big problem with, I think, that kind of thinking is that the way that you get better is by royally fucking up. Just by absolutely messing it up in such a glaring, fantastical way that you look at it and you laugh. That you look at it and you're like, oh my god, what did I just do? I just fell in the water twice in a row. I just missed that power clam, not only so that I didn't score, but also so that it fell off a cliff and ended the game immediately. Like, you learn by being bad. And so, the problem with the idea that you have to be good enough to start competitively is that if you look at the game that way, you will never get good enough because you won't do it. You won't screw up. And that will protect your ego a little bit, I guess, but it will also make it so that you never actually start playing at a competitive level and get a team and get coached by people who see that you are actually trying to do your best and learn, and decide that they are willing to help you because you're trying to do your best and learn, and they know that you would be a good student. Like, you learn by doing. It's not that you learn enough to do. You have to do before you learn. And that's what I always told people who were nervous about entering Smash tournaments when I was a competitive Smash TO. Like, you're going to lose every match that you play for the first 8 hours. And that's good and valuable, and you should absolutely do it. Because you're going to learn so much in such a short amount of time. It is going to become addictive to you. That you're getting so much better so fast, even while you're losing like crazy. That's what, that's the kind of mindset that actually, gets people to come to tournaments over and over again and keep going. It's like, don't focus on the result, focus on the process. Instead of being results-oriented, be process-oriented is another way to put that. That's something that you'll hear a lot in business circles. Don't think so much about whether you succeed or not. Think about what you can control on the path to success. Because oftentimes there are random elements to it, and that's something that bleeds into a discussion of content creation too. Sometimes you just get really, really lucky with a video, and the algorithm absolutely pops off. Remember that big, like, exponential curve that I showed on my YouTube analytics earlier? That happened because some shorts just randomly took off with the algorithm. I made those shorts like a month ago. I haven't done anything special since that time to make those blow up. It just kind of happened because the algorithm is a weird machine that's mysterious beyond any human knowledge. And it decided that that was going to be my day. And that's why the channel has grown significantly in the last 3 days. Not anything that I could possibly do. And so I don't focus on those numbers and be like, I did a really good job today. I look at those numbers and I'm like, oh, neat. I should keep doing what I'm doing, and I will continue to benefit from this. And that's all that there is to it in my head. I'm not looking at that and, like, deriving personal merit from that, a sense of satisfaction from it. So hopefully those thoughts have kind of helped you at least understand the nature of the problem, if not how to fix it. Because like I said, I'm not going to be the one who can tell you from experience how I overcame that problem. It's not a problem that I've really struggled with personally. I'm not a perfectionist in that regard. I'm able to put something out there and have it suck. And be okay with that. And just, as long as my process involves a way that I can learn from that mistake and, like, improve things going forward, then I'm happy with it. So, like, when someone makes a negative comment on a YouTube video, I look at that and I'm like, okay, you don't really understand what I'm doing, and I don't care what you think. But if someone makes a really well thought out constructive criticism, like I saw one the other day, which was talking about the way that I edit the Splatoon loading background onto the back of me while I'm talking over it. They talked about how what I could be doing is layering those two separately so that cuts look smoother on camera. And I was like, that's really smart. I should do that next time. And so I'm going to keep doing that. You know, I have a way of constantly improving. It's not like I'm going to get complacent and say, no, this thing that I've done the same way 50 times is going to work. But my process is all that I care about. And as long as that process involves improving, the results are going to come eventually. And that's why I say that in the How to Get Out of Rank videos too. I talk a lot about how if you focus on learning, the winning will come with it. If you continuously and helpfully learn things while you're playing the game, then the results will come. You don't have to worry about the results. They'll just kind of suddenly start happening, and you'll be pleasantly surprised. Got 3 picks on Gem. I'm so good, guys. Are you in the lobby right now? Yeah, stream sniper. Oh my god. Yeah, that... Legs is of course joking, but it's like... That's something that a lot of people fall into, especially younger players. Like, they want to be respected as players more than they want to be good players. And so they will do things like playing for individual results against a certain team or something, where like, oh yeah, this one game we got like within 1 point of beating FT Win, like we're so good, guys. And what FT Win looks at is, yeah, we 3-0'd that team, what about it? Where it's like, I think it's kind of rewarded a little bit by the system for voting into the plus servers, and this is something that's been talked about by better players with more experience in those servers than me. But what kind of happened with those servers was, the way it worked was you voted a player in or out as the community that was within that server. Because initially it was just this like private scrim server with like a whole bunch of top-level players who were friends with each other and wanted to be able to get better practice than they were able to by just doing random pickup scrims with people who might be Div 8. And so they just started this private scrim server, but more and more people wanted in, and it became a prestige symbol to be able to be in there. Like, ooh, they're in +1, they must be really good. And so, since it was becoming something that they didn't want, they made +2 so that it could be a larger group, and that way they'd still have this experience that they wanted of being in +1 and having better scrims, but it was a little bit less exclusive, and it was able to be a little bit less personal, but it kept the mechanic of you need to be able to vote these players in. And so it ended up being a popularity contest that you needed to win in order to get into the servers that gave you good Splatoon practice. So there was a little bit of a broken incentive system there for players for a while, that they just wanted to get good-looking results. They wanted other players to be like, oh yeah, that guy, he's sick, without actually really having the understanding of the game to back it up, without studying the game, without doing the hard work to have a theoretical knowledge of it and just trying to become like a cracked mechanical player. There were a lot of problems that arose out of that kind of a mindset. And the kind of player who will go on stream and be like, yeah, we beat dude in ranked. Like, okay, I've beaten Chara in ranked. I'm not better than Chara. Holy crap, Chara's team was absolutely falling apart. Like, we were tearing through them like paper, and he was just sitting there with his Brella like, guys, like, if you don't protect my flank, I cannot help you. And that was about all it was. And he was probably streaming at the time, and he was probably talking to his viewers, not really worrying about it, just like I am right now. I don't remember who won the game that I just played. Like, so that plays into the idea of, I talk about it in the Get Good video, but like, what are your goals actually? And are those goals something that are useful to you? Being able to like beat dude in one random game of ranked, if your only goal is to be able to talk to your buddies who know who dude is and to have something to brag about at the next conversation, yeah, that's going to accomplish that goal, all right. Is that a goal that you should have while playing this game? I don't think a mature person would agree that it is. That doesn't mean anything about how likely you are to be successful in a competitive tournament environment. That doesn't mean anything about whether you're likely to be successful in the next ranked game you play with dude. So, I mean, I guess it says a little something in that, like, your X rank That's about all that I would ever take away from that. Like, ooh, I've splatted Shaq in a match against FT Win before. I must be so good, right? We got absolutely destroyed, and the one splat that I got on him was the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. I dove into enemy ink, painted a line directly into mid, not painting for myself at all. I had one escape route, and it was directly behind me. And I dualies dodge rolled to attack Shaq from a position where he knew that, like, it was stupid to push him from. Because, like, he was even if I managed to get the splat, I was just going to immediately get traded back. And so the maximum benefit I get is a one-for-one trade, and that's so unlikely to happen, especially against players of their caliber. So, you know, make sure that, like, the goals that you set for yourself, what you consider to be good, is something that, like, a serious competitive team is actually going to care about, if that's something that you're looking for. And if all you're looking to do is to try and impress your buddies, well, when you don't impress a competitive player with that, like, don't be too upset that they're not validating the way that you play the game. It's going to be a little bit tiresome for them, because what a competitive player will often see is someone who really doesn't know what they're talking about, talking as if they do, and convincing even more beginner-level players that they do, and therefore making those beginner-level players worse. And that's something that is frustrating for a stronger player to see. So, forget how we got onto that tangent, but I'm full of tangents. I can tangent for days. As long as I don't have a government-mandated thing that I've got to teach, man, I'll tangent however much I darn well want in my classroom. How do you learn from a communication error has occurred? You can learn a lot about computer networking that way, and how bad Nintendo is at it. There's some interesting articles that I can recommend on the subject. Yeah, no, I totally understand that Legs was joking, and I hope I acknowledge that. I'm not trying to call Legs out here for that. Because, like, Legs is parodying the thing that I'm talking about. Like, I understand that what Legs said was satire, and I hope that that entire rant did not seem targeted to anybody at Legs. Tangents are my favorite parts of the stream. Perfect. That's the way I like it. Because I like the things that I'm tangenting about a lot more than the things that I usually have to talk about. Like, in an English classroom, I could be talking about gerunds, but I could also talk about, you know, that's kind of how it goes. One of my most memorable days of college, and one of the days where I feel like I learned the most about the world, was a day where we were supposed to be talking about Walt Whitman in a poem of his. And what happened instead was we learned that the professor had recently come back from Cuba. Now, Cuba has been under an embargo from the United States, and the ability to access that country from the United States was somewhat limited at the time. And I asked a question about Che Guevara, the revolutionary who helped to establish a socialist society in Cuba. There's a lot to Che Guevara. I would have to go full history teacher mode, and I won't claim that I'm any kind of expert on him either. But I asked a question about Che Guevara, and that professor talked about Cuba from a perspective that I will never have in my life for 75 minutes. That was more valuable to me than talking about Walt Whitman that day. Like, even for the purposes of passing the class or whatever, I am so much happier that I learned that about Cuban society than I would have learning about Walt Whitman. Like, Walt Whitman's a white dude who's easy to put in textbooks because there's nothing really, like, revolutionary to the current American order, to the American cultural hegemony. I use that term because that is something that I heard someone from Spain use once, and it's stuck in my brain ever since. That we as Americans have a cultural hegemony. That's an insane and scary thing about the world that we live in right now. Hey, can you cancel a splashdown? I don't think so. It was a sploosh that I got, so yes, they cannot cancel the splashdown. I've answered the question. Okay. Are we good? No, we're not. It was a good move along the wall, but I needed to get my aim on and laser him as soon as I landed, because otherwise I was stuck. I mean, it's more blaming myself for every loss, even when I'm actually playing pretty well. Gotcha. Yeah, it's interesting. Like you'll run into people who have the opposite problem too, who don't blame themselves enough, and so a lot of the time you'll see media aimed at those players because those players are incredibly frustrating. Who like when someone cannot take accountability for something that they did wrong, that is such a grating, difficult personality trait to get over. Like you need to be able to learn as a human being, because human beings are going to screw up. And learning is the primary way we get better. So you can very easily like handicap your growth and your worth as a person by not recognizing something that you're screwing up. By the same token, it's very easy for people who have heard that message and internalized it to over-internalize it and get down on themselves for mistakes and not give themselves enough credit. And there are a lot of cultural movements in both directions to get people to be accountable, but also to get people to care about themselves and have confidence. So, how do you not get bored with Splatoon? I love variety, but I have 750 hours of lifetime with Splatoon 2, day one vet of the series. If I were to play the game just for ranked, I would have stopped at about 150 hours. There was a point I remember when I was first getting into the game where I was like, this isn't really doing it much for me anymore. But something that I find interesting about a game, and one of the reasons that I play games primarily, is multiplayer. A single player game you beat in like 50 hours or something at most, and then you move on with your life. And that's not a lot of time compared to how much time we've put into Splatoon 2. But a multiplayer game always has the element of, can you outcompete other human players? And that has infinite replay value. I also look at games as a fun optimization exercise. Like, nowadays, whenever I encounter a new game, I always think, is there a speedrun for this? I'd be really curious to see how they solved this puzzle of a game. Is there a leaderboard for this? How are the best players doing this? And if there's sufficient depth in the answer to that question, like what are the optimal strategies? How do I get better at this? That sparks my interest in a game, and that makes me want to invest a lot more time in it than I otherwise would. So, part of it comes just from the mindset of having played competitive games before. I played Super Smash Bros. Melee competitively for a very long time, for a significant fraction of my life. So, I started... my very first tournament was in 2008. To give you some context there. Like, I was a tournament organizer in that game. I was a commentator in that game. I am still, I would say, me in my prime in Melee is at a higher level than me in my prime in Splatoon. I would say, like, of all my favorite games of all time, I would list Splatoon probably second or third, because Melee is definitely first, and I might have to give it to Dark Souls. Dark Souls is a really gorgeous, gorgeous game that has helped me and a lot of people in a lot of ways. Anyway, I was already a competitive player when I got to Splatoon. In fact, the reason I got hired by Bravest in the first place was my competitive Smash experience and my TOing experience. Not to mention that, you know, I knew how to work with kids, and that was what I was going to be doing with that job. So I already had a competitive mindset going into the game, and I was ready to hit the ground running as soon as that all started. So, like I said, if the game were for solo play, you know, for just playing ranked, I would not have been nearly as interested. But because I had now the potential to have a team experience in an esport for the first time ever, I was hooked on that idea. Yeah, I could have done it through League of Legends, because I did play some League of Legends, but that game, too much of a time commitment for me to really get into. Splatoon was a lot quicker, a lot snappier, and it had much cooler movement too. I think movement tech is something that I need to have in a game in order for me to want to play it. Hope you didn't praise Shay. Shay is a complicated individual for sure. And there are a lot of ideals that back that revolution that I think are admirable and honorable. The end result of all of that turmoil, basically, it's never going to go the way that you want it to when you start an armed revolution, is something that I think I've learned from history. That a revolution is going to create a power vacuum, and that power vacuum is going to attract people who want power, and those are the people who least deserve it. So, I don't know. I won't comment too much more on the history of that subject, but I think that there is a kind of binary culture war that is developed between capitalism and socialism that is one of the most toxic ideologies. The idea that those two are diametrically opposed and that they must be at war for supremacy. I think that does not need to be the way that we live. I think that both systems are improved by each other, and it's something that needs to be explored on a deeper level than just communism bad or capitalism bad. I hate reductive takes like that because there's just too much nuance and too much good that we could be getting out of living in that nuance. American Revolution turned out pretty well. It also led to the French Revolution, which led to something that one might call a genocide. So, it definitely had a lot of consequences, and some of those consequences were good. As with a lot of other revolutions. But it was a complicated thing for sure. And I do think that, especially coming from an American teaching of this country's history, we get a lot of that history with rose-tinted glasses. What level are you, Mr. Squid School guy? Like, in my main profile? Right now, I think I'm level 6 on this profile, but the main profile is like 86 with 3 prestiges. So, whatever 99 times 3 plus 86 is. That's where I'm at. That's how many times I have leveled up. Most schools teach that America is evil and racist. Most schools where? Like, there are definitely a lot of evil and racist things that have happened in our history. And I definitely think that we have historically understated that fact. And that because we've historically understated that fact, remnants of the evil and racist parts are allowed to remain in our society without being challenged. I mean, to categorically declare all of the United States as racist is definitely reductive, and I wouldn't make such a claim, but we've definitely done some pretty despicable things to an entire culture of people. And I don't think we can just kind of ignore that. You, sir, have a jawline for days. Neat. I think that's a good thing. Universities? Oh, okay. I see the angle that you're coming from. You're coming from a very, very conservative perspective, and you're repeating a lot of stock arguments that I see from conservative thinkers all the time. There are definitely some faculty in universities that are, I guess, far left / socially progressive in a way that is not especially functional, in a way that can be grating. There are also faculty members that present right-leaning perspectives in a way that is, you know, maybe not factually backed up as well, or poorly considered. Like, in general, professors are given a lot of respect and are able to say things that they theorize as if they are truths. And that is a weakness, I think, of the university system. Now, I think that the fact that universities, you know, skew liberal and that they are indoctrinating students with leftist dogma, I think that is massively overblown, especially by right-wing think tanks. Like, the right wing wants people to question traditional sources of authority in the belief that they have been co-opted by the left, which on one hand, like, we should always be skeptical of any source of authority. On the other, I've seen, you know, the same kinds of publications that will make claims like that. I think there was someone here. I've seen the same kinds of publications that would make a claim like that make even more outrageous claims that are even more vulnerable to rational questioning. So the direction that you're kind of taking the conversation by saying something like that is, I think, reductive to a point where it should be reframed. Kind of looks like the backyard scientists, but similar in a way that they're cousins. I don't know who the backyard scientist is, but I don't know. They're probably like a white dude, because everyone just thinks that all white dudes look the same. I had a buddy who was also a white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes when I was growing up, and we got confused for each other all the time. And I'd look at him and be like, how do you confuse people for each other like this? And then I was like, oh wait, but this is something that like black people complain about all the time too. It's just like you see the nuance more in people who are like you because you grew up more around people like you. That makes sense. So I've made my peace with it. Did you make a new account to help people get to X rank? The new account is largely to try out new weapons that I have never played before. It's as much a learning experience for me as it is for everybody else who's watching. But I think that it's valuable to model the learning process to show not just like what something should look like at the very end of your learning, what something should look like when you're an expert, but also what the steps look like in between to get from being a beginner to being better to then being an expert. I also think that just modeling the process of learning itself, like showing that when I lose and I rage, that I'm going to fail to learn. Whereas if I lose, but then I think, okay, what could I have done better from that situation? All of a sudden, I get better at it. And it is really cool being able to see that too, just as kind of a time capsule. Like, I look at the Weapon to X videos now, and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, this was the video where I learned that one thing that I do all the time now. And that it's funny when you learn something. Maybe this is just me, but whenever I learn something, I catch myself sometimes acting as though I've known that all my life. That like, oh my gosh, how don't you know this? And I'm like, wait, I just learned that last week. Never mind, carry on. And so it's been fun having those kinds of moments on like the GooTuber, where one stream, someone commented, hey, before you climb up a wall, you should get charge so that as soon as you pop over the wall, you're able to fire a shot. I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And now I look at the old videos where I don't do that, and I'm like, oh, you fool, you absolute moron. Why would you not get charge as you're going up the wall? Even though, again, it took somebody else teaching me that, and I only just learned it on the previous stream. Or on the stream after, rather. So, I think there are a lot of cool things that are happening with that series. And so, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Is politics equivalent to morality? I think I take issue with the word morality a lot of the time because it means too many different things to too many different people. And it's vague enough at this point, the way that the word has been used, that it's really difficult to have a conversation about it without making further definitions that make the conversation irrelevant to a lot of people's definition of morality. But I think the word politics is something that is, I think, defined too narrowly for people a lot of the time. Because people think politics and they think government elections. What am I voting for in the election? Really, politics is the global question of what should we do, knowing what we know, and like how should we organize society, what resources should we use, how. And that's a question that's getting answered at a family level. Like, kids engage in politics when they angle to try and get attention from their parents, because they are competing for that attention with maybe the other kids in the family, with the dog, with whatever the parent was about to do instead of paying attention to them. That's politics. That's you trying to negotiate for the thing that you want. And once people start looking at politics in that way, I think they will develop a much better understanding of the way the world works and their ability to have agency in it. I also think that at that point, yes, politics is absolutely intrinsically tied to your sense of morality and ethics. It is tied to what is good, what is right. Am I asking for more resources than I deserve, have earned, or rather resources that would be better spent or more needed by somebody else? And at that point, yes, it does become a question of morality, but if you're not an expert on, say, the American political system, that doesn't mean you're not going to engage in politics. It might mean that you're not going to be as good about understanding who to vote for, but just because that's not your forte, that's not your highest level of understanding, doesn't mean that you have no agency over the things that happen around you. You need to realize that there are, for example, things that you can do in local government. There are ways that you can organize as a grassroots community. There are things that you can do to reach out to people outside of that context. And there are ways that you can exercise power in ways that don't require you to engage with government systems. So, like, if your question is, are you a bad person if you're not a Democrat, or are you a bad person if you're not a Republican, I think that's a silly question. And the answer is, frankly, no, for both of those. Like, that's not enough information for me to know, whether you are genuinely caring about other people, whether you want what is best for the rest of the world. Whether you're going to use your time and energy to make other people happy, to love one another. You can do all of those things and be one of those, polarized political perspectives. But there are definitely flaws in both of those perspectives as well. And not at least trying to question those flaws is, I think, something that can lead you to doing bad things. The way he talks reminds me of a lit circle in English. I was an English teacher. Like, I'm not making that part up. I taught 6th graders what gerunds are, which is an insane thing to do, by the way. But that was my job for 3 years. About Splatoon, please. We definitely can. But I think part of the reason that I like talking about Splatoon actually plays into some of this. My ultimate goal with what I want to do with my life is to help people be better, smarter individuals. And especially make choices that are more in their own self-interest. And I think Splatoon is absolutely an avenue that I can use to do that. The learning process, the critical thinking skills, the analysis that goes into it. Like, yeah, this particular application of those skills is just making pixels move around in a different way on a screen. But if you take those skills and apply them to something a little bit more permanent, a little bit more tangible, there's a lot you can do with that. There's a lot that you can learn from this kind of thing. think that's part of why I am so much more into diving in head first into a game and analyzing it really hard and learning as much as I can about it, because when I just use a game as like a distraction, as like a casual time sink, I just feel like I'm not getting very much out of this. I'd rather do something that's more engaging. I'd rather do something that feels more like a thing that's I'm able to use to help people, to teach people, to learn more about the world around me. I play with you sometime. I'm not a pro, but I'm a fan. There are definitely some opportunities to play with me. Like, I generally do accept friend requests, and we've done some like group PBs and stuff before. Now, my time definitely is limited, because a lot of the time that I'm spending playing Splatoon is spent in a competitive context, where I'm playing with my teammates. A lot of the time I'm playing is on stream, where I prefer to have the control over the content that playing on my own provides. I let people in very limited capacities. So, can I just like play a full 2-hour league rotation with every one of my viewers? That's just not possible. But there are definitely some opportunities to play with me. For example, the community nights, I will definitely jump in and play sometimes. The graduation party is coming up on September 4th. I'll be playing in that with my competitive team. And if you ever get a VOD review with me, you know, you'll always get a league rotation on my team where we're doing callouts and stuff out of that. So those are some ways to make that happen. And I accept friend requests, and if people hop into my games in Turf War and stuff, like, I'm never objecting to that. Like, Legs is someone who just, like, added me from the stream, and we've been talking to a little bit. And now they're in the game with me here. They're playing with me. So I'm definitely down. It's just try to have a realistic expectation of what I, as competitive player, caster, content creator, who's getting a little bit more well-known in the Splatoon community, have realistic expectations of how much individual attention I am able to give to any one person. Because I will try, and I do care about the people that I am making this for. Like I said, my purpose in doing this all is to help teach people and stuff. But the class size is pretty big. You know, the teacher can't spend the entire class period just teaching you. They need to be able to do activities that allow them to help multiple people at once. If you could found an organization to help those in need with life issues and how to deal with problems from simple to complex, would you do? Oh, absolutely. I mean, if I had just a crap ton of money, one of the first things that I would do is there's some people that I specifically have in mind who I would just try to give a housing and like food and rent to. Just like I would try to make sure that they have an independent living situation so they could get out of the family situations that they're currently in that are toxic to them. That's like one of the first things that I would want to do, is to help those people individually by allowing them to live more of their own lives than they have the opportunity to currently, to make them a little more independent. That's something that I want to do if I ever, you know, hit it rich, if I ever win the jackpot or whatever. And there are a lot of philanthropic organizations with ideas like that in mind that I think would be very good to donate to. My mom actually has worked in philanthropic organizations before and would probably have a pretty good idea of where to put that money towards to help the most people that I possibly can, by putting them in touch with mentors and giving them access to education and the basic necessities that they need to kind of get a leg up in life. So that's I think the highest calling that a person could be called to. Whoever's doing the calling, whatever authority figure or deity you happen to believe in that is doing that. Hoping to do the league thing on September 4th Stargaze, but it's right around the time college starts. The odds aren't high. Alright. Well, it's... my hand is kind of forced just by when Splatoon 3 happens to be coming out. Isn't this a new account? It is. I'm at like level 7 or something right now. Thanks for the subscription, Zombie. Appreciate you. What's a VOD review? A VOD review is where a player submits a video of a match that they played to me, and I watch over that on stream and talk through each decision one at a time to help give as much advice as I possibly can from that one video. I can usually take like one 5-minute round of Splatoon and have a good 50-minute conversation about what that player can improve on based on that conversation, based on that one video. I stream that every Tuesday from 3 to 5 Pacific, and that's one of the oldest remaining kind of pieces of content that I consistently do. I've been doing that since the pandemic times, really. It's been a long time that I've been doing that. So, if you're ever interested, all you've got to do is get into my Discord server and send me a DM. And we'll work out from those DMs exactly when it's going to be, how you're going to get the recording done, because not everybody has a capture card, and so we talk about what our alternatives are to that. And I give advice. I don't care if you're unranked, C-, or you're higher ranked than me in X rank. I will give you the best advice that I can think to give based on what I am given, and we'll stream it. On those streams, I also play league rotations with those players for a full 7 games to get power, so that they can kind of get a feel for what callouts are like, the flow of the game, because a lot of people who are asking for those either haven't had experience making callouts and stuff, or they're relatively new to competitive play and would learn a lot from hearing the way that I communicate about the same game that they're seeing in front of them. Mr. Teacher, do you keep your Franco public? Yeah, I think if you hit !FC in chat, you'll get it right now. I think that's still a command that works. Now, the thing about it is that you can only have up to 300 players added to your friends list. And there are probably like 30 friend requests that I'm just leaving right now because I got those friend requests and didn't really have a reason to accept them at that time. Like, something that really helped the community be a lot more efficient in terms of time, so that I wasn't having to spend like 15-20 minutes during the stream accepting and deleting friend requests to make room, was I only accepted a friend request when it was time to actually play with that person. So I may not accept a friend request if I just get one out of the blue. But my friend request is my friend code is definitely out there. It's not like it's secretive knowledge that only a select few in my little cabal will know. I need to go feed the cat, so I'll be right back. That's what the Meow 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 Mix song was for. Thanks for the follow, a puppy Meepo. I was about to say meepox, like that was a disease or something. I'll be right back. I saw RDB talking. Okay, I should probably send a video of me playing Brella to get an outside view. Would a phone video be fine? Yeah, phone video is actually the next best thing after capture card, believe it or not, because most phones have pretty good cameras at this point in time, and also that way I'm seeing your own camera movements. I'm not getting like spectator lag weirdness. It's not smoothing the camera out like it does. I'm also able to see map checks. All of that sort of thing I think is really valuable to have. So I'd rather see slightly worse video quality and be able to make all of those conclusions rather than just being like, this would be a good time to check map, but I don't know if you did or not. There's a K-pop fan art account on Tumblr who posted about a great sort of learning concept. Exercise on earlier. Knowledge versus skill, how gaps between those are super important to the learning process, but also can cause deep insecurities. I think that's one of the roots. Oh, gaps. I see. Yeah, yeah. You got a cat too? This man is a legend. Yeah, I mean, it's a low bar to clear, but I do in fact have a cat. Cats are like the easiest pets. It's crazy. Like there's so little you actually have to do to have a cat and take good care of it. But yeah, Meow Meow, I have the Meow Mix theme, and it plays on my phone whenever it's time for Kitty to eat. And that way he is conditioned, like in a Skinner box. Whenever he hears that, he's going to get fed. And that way it makes it so that he is less needy and grabby at me when it's time for him to be fed, because there's an obvious and consistent trigger that is going to cause me to give him food. And I think it's generally helped. There have been a few times where I've forgotten, and so the bugging has been a way that he has communicated that to me. Like maybe the phone dies during the day, you know, things like that happen sometimes. So it's not perfect, but it's definitely worked so that he doesn't just like meow at me and like claw at me constantly to try and get food. Cat picture, please. Okay, one sec. Here is Romeo. It's not actually his name. His name is Romeo, but Romeo is a fun reduction of it. And here's the Discord server for those who are interested. Like I said, if you want a VOD review like what I described, you can just send me a friend request, or not a friend request. Send me a Discord DM, and I'll respond to it from there. So here's Katie. He's a lot less chonker than he used to be. He's lost 2 whole pounds, which I'm very proud of him for. And by proud of him, I mean proud of me, because literally all that changed was that I started feeding him less. Turns out, folks, the numbers that they say on the back of the cat food bag are inflated to get you to feed more to your cat so that you have to buy more food more quickly, which is incredibly terrible and horrible, and I hate it. But ask your vet rather than trusting those numbers. Something that I learned the hard way. How do I get FC? Exclamation mark FC. And I think, yeah, that's the correct one. Okay. So, going back to Splatoon. You might look at this level 7 account and think, oh, look at that. He's 75% of the way to level 10. This is incorrect. I am halfway to level 10. It will take exactly the same amount of time that has taken me to get here to get to level 10. Because every single level, you gain, it takes more experience points to get you there. This becomes a grind very quickly. I don't think the commands work on YouTube. Uh, I just used it myself and it sent, but some of them might only work for me. That was something I was finding out during the stream yesterday. What a stupid thing to do. What is this, matchmaking? Turf War does have matchmaking in it. You'll see, you know, and it's not just because of the people who have joined from my friend code. You'll notice that the more matches I played, the more I'm just playing with like S+ or X level players. Because at the beginning, you can look and see that I was playing against very inexperienced players relative to what I'm playing against right now. Don't engage with Cronky. They are banned, and giving them any modicum of attention is only going to encourage their behavior. Just let them cease to exist in the chat and be on your merry way. You have a question. Will you do a video about good or bad super jumps? I guess that would make a good short. It's not a lot of information. It's literally just look at the paint on the map around where you're about to be jumping. And if there is a lot of enemy paint, or especially reason for you to believe that enemy paint has been placed there recently, you don't jump. And if there isn't enemy paint, you have teammates who have moved into that area and they would have been attacked if they had been in that position, you know, any of those kinds of telltale signs that, again, you can see just by watching the ink, then you do jump. It's a pretty simple flowchart, but definitely something that might make a good short in future, so thanks for the idea. So excited to graduate soon. What's this way? Is there somebody up here? Oh, I see. Yeah, there is. Alright. Well, not a huge fan of the squid bag there, but good job getting the pick at any rate. If you do make a short for it, I have a friend who would like to see it. Okay. Is Ninja Squid good? I actually have a video about that from a little while back. During the Top 500 video, the How to Get Top 500 video, I was... there was a break, and as soon as we took a break in the content, Hamram asked Chara a question about what he thinks about Ninja Squid. And I had just clicked stop recording because I was like, okay, we're going to take a break and go to the bathroom. And then immediately, an insanely good question gets asked. I'm like, no, record. So their take in general was that Ninja Squid can be useful for very specific weapon classes, but that at top level, players' level of awareness is high enough that they will have an idea where you could be generally. They will probably paint and check areas before pushing into them. They will be able to see the path in the ink that you do still leave when you have Ninja Squid. And that you really have to consider, is what I'm getting from the Ninja Squid worth the swim speed that I am losing for running it? Remember that Ninja Squid does decrease your swim speed by a pretty significant amount. And so there are certain weapons where you kind of don't want to run it. It can be pretty good on something like a lightweight weapon like a Neo Splash, especially, or like a Carbon Deco, because with those weapons, you don't need a lot of swim speed up here to counteract the loss of swim speed that you're going to get from Ninja Squid. It's... Oh, God. It's very niche. It's something that not every weapon is going to want to do. It's something that can also, in my experience, be a little bit of a crutch at lower levels. It's like some players will use it to make up for bad positioning, basically. They'll use it when what they should be doing is just not taking an unsafe position in the first place. So, I would recommend learning how to play the game without it first, and then experimenting with it a little bit to determine whether you think it's the right call for you. See if we can break this spawn camp a little bit. There's someone coming up here. Ah. I shouldn't have thrown the bomb. The bomb was going to blow up too late anyway. Probably should have just gotten into a position where I could pre-fire them up over the ledge. Yep. There's been a disconnect pretty much all game, which is why the spawn camp is happening. Bad aim on my part. They're giving me enough opportunities to shoot them as I go and do that. Like, what their plan there was not foolproof by any means. Looney had to have been... I don't think they were from chat, were they? They might have just been a player in the game who tried to add me. Hi, I don't know what that word is, but welcome. If you thought about creating your own fan-made abilities, including my own, I have cataloged over 120 fan-made abilities? So like gear abilities? It can be a fun exercise, I guess, for thinking about the game design. I'm a lot less interested in that sort of thing than someone like Prochara would be. The hero shots just not got great internet connections today. But gear abilities. I guess if I were gonna make a new ability, because I think most of the basic stats are pretty well covered and represented, I'd want to add some kind of like clothing type unique thing. Did I get this? Nope, nope. I didn't move fast enough there. Should have had the third. It'd be some kind of like unique ability, like comeback or respawn punisher, you know, something that's only a main and is only on a specific kind of gear. Because I think, like, otherwise it's just like, yeah, make you swim faster. That's pretty good. But I can't think off the top of my head of anything in particular that I'd want. I also feel that gear and the importance of it is overemphasized in Splatoon. I think that the perks are like nice and give you something to grind for that makes your fashion choices mean something. But I don't think they have an outsized impact on whether you win or lose. I think there's very, very minor perks that you're actually getting out of your gear. Like, you could give someone like Kiver a gear build specifically designed to sabotage him, and he would still run circles around most competitive players. Like, the number of players that it would actually, like, have an impact on, like, where it would change the outcome of whether he won or lost an engagement. Like, the players that we're talking about there are already top-level players anyway. There are people he would probably have lost an occasional engagement to anyway. So, that's my take. Cougar C raid, let's go. Thanks, Cougar C. Appreciate you. Oh, Junibug's right there in chat. Shoot. Man, I scrolled up for a good, like, 15 minutes of chat looking for Junibug and didn't see him. Ah, shucks. Used to play Geometry Dash. The name Elixir was taken, so I had to go with Elixir. Gotcha. Thanks for the subscription, Oscar Sow. Upon getting a splat, you gain a 10% ink tank recovery. So you get ink when you get kills. That sounds like a League of Legends mechanic. That sounds like you're getting your Kha'Zix jump resets, Fia. If I had an ability that I could add, it would be shoe size up. To make your Squid or Octo have an extra tall hurt box when wearing any clothes. So you could just wear clown shoes and have a bigger hitbox because of it? That's funny. Howdy, Junibug. I'll go and accept your friend request when it will not actually get me out of the lobby. Ink transfer. If a player is engaged in combat where they are running out of ink, one or more players can transfer ink they desire to help their teammates out. That could be interesting, because a lot of people have always thought, like, what would the game be like if you could shoot your teammate and either, like, heal them or replenish their ink tank or something like that. Oh, Junibug made it in? What? Did Junibug, like, add somebody else from here and manage to get in that way? That's crazy. I thought I didn't accept that friend request. I'm influenced by what I've played. Yeah, understandable. And it's not a bad idea. Like, a lot of fresh ideas come from mixing and matching things that you find from other games. All right, there you go, Junibug. Oh my god. Am I going to DC from this game? This is taking a long time. Okay, we're here. I was only 5 seconds away from DCing there. That was frighteningly close. back. Welcome back. Darn it. Yeah, I always think I can dodge the dynamo. And then I'm like, no, I cannot. It is a dynamo roller. It is very not dodgeable when aimed with any degree of acuity. Whew. Off go the missiles. Nice. Nice. Oh my goodness. They just ran around in circles and we couldn't hit it. Kind of what a brush does, I guess. And there's Junibug. Hello, Junibug. This is how I greet my friends, by shooting tenta missiles at them. Don't take it personally. It's just one of my many quirks. My many funny, quirky, silly things that I do. Ooh. That should paint up their whole base. Nice. A few more details. It can be done all over the map. It is locked to shirt, etc. Oh yeah, being able to layer gear would be nice. To where you could have gear that has the perks of one thing but the look of another. I don't know, that would simplify the game a little bit to where you wouldn't have to worry as much about the gear farming system in general. So they may not want that, I don't know. Do you think it'd be feasible for Splatoon 3 to have its own friend system where you can become friends with people just in the Splatoon 3 game and not all Nintendo Switch console? I don't see what that would accomplish. Like, why is that better than the alternative? Got merch, I would buy it. I've been told that by a couple of people now, and I know nothing about making merch. I'm not gonna lie. I would need a lot of research to be able to figure that out, but I mean, if there's demand for it, it's something that would help me, you know, do this full time on more of a regular basis. So, something to look into, I guess. That's something I've been told, that like having something physical in exchange for supporting the channel is something that a lot of people would like. And that makes a lot of sense to me. It's just like, I also know that you have to make stuff in certain batches, I guess. Like, it wouldn't be worth it if there were only 2 people who wanted a t-shirt to make t-shirts, you know? So, I get a little bit nervous about demand. And about the logistics of like actually shipping that out and stuff like that, and how expensive all of that would be. Definitely food for thought. Rats. Actually startled when you stuck up on me, the boot worked. Yeah. Devi likes to say that Splatoon is a horror game because it's full of jump scares. I'll booyah back to that. I don't know what I'm booyahing for, but... hi! Thank you for missing. I appreciate you. A lot of stuff tied into learning and mindset and how to get a ranked series. You could probably apply in Splatoon 3. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, when Splatoon 3 comes out, I'm probably going to end up repeating myself a lot in the content that I make about it. Because, like, there are going to be beginners who have not heard me say those things before, and they're not going to click on a Splatoon 2 video to learn it. So, it might be a little annoying for people who have stuck with the content for a little while at first, because they're like, you've already made a video about this, like, and you talk about it in that one stream, like, this has been done to death. Why are you talking about it again? Because I haven't talked about it in the context of Splatoon 3. And that is literally the reason that I will repeat myself with a lot of that stuff. You know, I'll probably be making shorts on, like, what the buttons do at the beginning. Because there will be a lot of people who are coming into the community who do not know that. And I just ask that y'all be patient, because I'll try and mix in some more competitive level stuff as well. But also recognize that competitive players will have no bloody idea what's going on day one. We will only know what was going on in Splatoon 1 and what was going on in Splatoon 2, and we will do those things in Splatoon 3 until we realize that they're not working, and we try to figure out something new that will work in Splatoon 3. We will also have no idea how these new specials are used until we see some sick Twitter clip of someone doing something we never thought to do before. And we're like, yo, wait a minute, I need to do that too. And then we find out that like half of the specials are broken. Or we find out that there's one weapon that's completely polarizing that is going to dominate the meta for the first month until they decide to patch anything. We are not going to know everything about the game super early on. So we're going to pad it out at the very beginning by talking about the stuff that we do know, which is probably going to feel basic at first. Friend request system works slowly, makes you need to close the game. If your friends were in the game app, it could be improved, like letting you organize. That's true. Having to close the game to be able to accept the friend requests and stuff is a little annoying. They could at least integrate that system better. I think the biggest problem with it, in my opinion, is just that you have such a low limit for number of friends that you can have. Like, why do I, as a team captain, as a content creator and, you know, streamer, why do I have to limit myself to 300 friends when there are so many more people than that I know who play this game? Well, that's kind of annoying, and I don't really want to push it too much. Remember when in your Grim Blaster series you got tap-shotted by a Swiffer in Clam Blitz? No, I have no idea when that happened. I do not have a photographic memory of the games that I play. Devi would probably remember something like that, but I am just like, nope. I mean, that probably happened. That sounds plausible. About the best I got. Oh, there's someone over there. Neat through the augers. How many friends can you have? 300. It's like, I don't understand why it is like that, because it doesn't seem like it has any impact. It doesn't seem like the problem is memory. Like, what other problem would you have other than system memory for the number of friends that you're able to add? But like 300 for what must be like a relatively insignificant amount of data does not seem like a lot. I know the Switch is not a powerful system, but if it can house Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on it, it can house more than 300 friend requests. Okay, fine, everyone's here. Do you remove friends to keep storage from getting full? That's exactly what you have to do. Once your friend list fills up, you have to delete friends to be able to make room for new ones. And so on like community nights where I'm expecting to play with a lot of different people, I will in advance have to go and just purge the friends list of as many people as I know I can live without having added. Do you think they'll finally let go of the 2-hour-long rotation system? I don't think so. I think that it's frustrating when you get a rotation with bad map modes, but on the whole, a lot of Splatoon's game design is centered around giving you bite-sized pieces of the game to learn. Instead of being thrown into a new map every game, you have these two maps, and you're just going to learn these two for 2 hours, and you're going to get a really good understanding of how those two maps work in those 2 hours. And then the next time those come back up, you'll be like, oh, hey, I remember this one. If you make it a random map every time, it's going to take a long time before people start developing that sort of knowledge. So ideally, I would like you to be able to have more choice as a player what you end up playing. But given the size of the community and like the number of players that it takes to fill a match-made lobby quickly, they need to give you limited options so that you can get a match in a reasonably fast amount of time. And that's one thing that you have to appreciate about Splatoon's game design. It gets you into matches fast. It makes it so that you do not have to wait very long after one game to get into the next game. That's something that I think is a huge advantage of this game over a game like, say, League of Legends or Valorant or something. Like, not only is League of Legends a very long game, but it takes you a long time to get another game after that one. So even if you had a terrible game where one player disconnected and another player threw, and the other team just steamrolled you, you still have to spend a good, at least like 20-25 minutes on any one given game. And in Splatoon, you can have 5 games in that time. So even if one of them happens to suck, you're going to... That was well played. It crossed me up really hard. Even if one of those games really sucks, you're going to have 4 more to make it up to you after that. This counter argument, I've never heard anyone say that in MK8 getting into a game takes too long. Mario Kart is a much bigger game than Splatoon is. Especially, I would think, in terms of, like, skill bracketing. I would think that you'd actually have more players that you could fit in using their matchmaking system at any given rank. I think there are a lot. I don't know exactly, you know, what the numbers are in the Mario Kart matchmaking system, but you know, whatever the Mario Kart equivalent to S rank is probably a lot more full than Splatoon S rank. Like, maybe I'm wrong here, but like, can someone actually look up how many units sold there are between the two games? Like, where's Mario Kart at and where's Splatoon at in those numbers? Mario Kart is 35 to 40 million, and Splatoon 2 is 12 million. Right. 3, maybe even 4 times the size. So they're going to have more liberties that they can take with the choice that they can give the players without compromising matchmaking time. Nobody goes up and down as you win and lose. Probably Glicko too then. Or no, maybe it's like the GSP system. Ew. Never ceases to amaze me how little Nintendo understands competitive formatting and matchmaking, given that they've created such beautiful competitive games in their time, and have at least had access to grassroots communities that could teach them how to do it. I don't know, maybe I'm not giving them enough credit and they're just designing with different goals in mind, but I feel like there are a lot of ways where they could just straight up improve what they do and don't. What's your opinion on pickles? Don't like them that much. If there are pickles on a sandwich or something, I will give them to whoever in the group actually likes pickles. Easier if you can make lobbies without a friend request, just an ID and password. That would be nice, and then you could like matchmake using that. That would be good. And that would help solve some of the friend request problems too. I like dilly, I just don't like pickles. Does pineapple belong on pizza? I have had pizzas with pineapple on them that I like, which is interesting because I hate pineapple in general. Pizza is actually one of the only places that I've ever actually liked eating pineapple. I think it's because the way that it's cooked takes a lot of the tartness out of it, and it just makes it a little bit sweeter. But it's not my favorite either. There are certain specialty pizzas that it goes well with. Like, I'd much prefer it on a pizza that uses barbecue sauce instead of tomato sauce. But there is definitely a way to make pineapple taste good to me on pizza. Does belong on pizza? That makes it sound like every pizza needs to have pineapple. That's the best use for the pineapple. That's the only place for the pineapple. But, yeah, it's good. Don't knock it till you try it. Domino's is a really good place to try it out with because you can customize so much about the pizza. And one of those things you can customize is putting barbecue sauce in place of the primary tomato sauce. I think that helps it a lot because barbecue sauce is sweeter and it melds better, I think, with the pineapple. I couldn't explain that pattern of swimming to you if I tried, but that's how you make players miss when you're in a situation like that. So do that thing, whatever that was. A lot of it is based on my read about where they're going to assume I'm going and try aiming to compensate. So I'm playing by kind of setting up an expectation and then going elsewhere than what I've set up. Ground beef with blue cheese drizzle is the best pizza. That does sound pretty good. It also sounds really expensive. Facecam froze. Yay! Woo! I love that that's happening now. After just having not happened for a long time, and then just starting without my ever having messed with the camera. Oh, that's the best feeling. Even though I don't register ducking and swooping, it's an evasive tactic. I mean, it is an evasive tactic. It's not to say that it's going to work every time or the way that you want it to, but it does make your hitbox smaller. Makes it so that, like, you are a smaller target. It makes it so that you hide in the ink. So now it's gone. And now we hit activate, and hopefully it comes back. And it did not come back. So I'm going to go and unplug it and replug it. And there we are. This is what it actually looks like before I do some light correction settings. And now it's actually somewhat fixed and has the minimal amount of fuzzies on it. So there's a little behind the scenes thing for you on what I have to do to get my webcam set up every time. Isn't plain cheese? What the heck is plain cheese? There's so many different kinds of cheese, and I've never heard of one called plain. Your skin isn't naturally that radiant? The lighting isn't naturally that radiant. It's very warm lighting in this room. The color temperature is very high, which means that it's going to look very orange. Mozzarella? Mozzarella isn't like the default cheese. It's not like plain. It's common. But like cheddar is more common. Neat. They call it plain cheese. Huh. Because I know there's, like, plain yogurt. Maybe there is actually some kind of plain cheese that, like, there's just a process where you, like, flavor it in some way. And plain cheese is made in a way that does not go through that process. I would not know. I am not a cheese maker. Well, this is annoying. I'd like to move. Ah. Cheese gets its flavoring mainly through how much fat they keep in it and how long it ages. So the different names of cheese are named for different ways to do that process, which would mean that there is no, like, default plain cheese. Right? Like, what does plain cheese mean then? Have you ever accidentally worn a green shirt for one of these and ended up disappearing? I actually have had green on my shirt in the past and just not cared enough. I always notice it because that's one of the first things that happens is, like, you look at the screen and you're like, oh, I'm missing. Like, there's a Mario shirt that I have with some 1-Up mushrooms on it, and the 1-Up mushrooms get very colorful because you're seeing through them onto the screen behind. Plain cheese the person was talking about, I think, was just in reference to them saying they don't want a cheese-only pizza. Huh. Maybe. We call a team of arrow sprays going against a team of clash blasters. What the arrow sprays are going to want to do there is just avoid engagements altogether and only go in when they have specials. Because the advantage that they have is that they're able to paint, and the Clash Blaster is not. So the Clash Blaster has an easier job, but I feel like there is possibility that they do get outplayed if the arrow sprays are zippy enough. Order a plain burger. I want it to only have meat, cheese, and a bun. See, some people would say that a plain burger should just be the meat and the bun. Like, not even the cheese, because that's a cheeseburger. That's not a hamburger, that's a cheeseburger. Should it have ketchup? Should it have lettuce? Tomato? Onion? Most of them do. That was very sneaky, chomp. I see what you did there. Is it a burger without honey mustard? Oh my god, that's so bougie. Well, they're around here somewhere, but I've decided not to care about it. Oh, hi. Ah. Rats. Salmon run tips. A lot of it has to do with like specific situations, but salmon run overall is a mode that really tests your movement tech, your ability to paint your own feet and move quickly and efficiently from one place to another. It also tests your decision making really hard because you have to prioritize what is the most immediate threat first. So that requires a lot of game knowledge. It's a reason that a lot of competitive players are not anywhere near the best salmon run players and vice versa. A lot of the best salmon run players don't really play competitively well because the game knowledge that you need is unique to each different mode. So for example, knowing that if you have Stingray on a mothership run, that you can use that Stingray to hit up through the mothership, damaging it while also breaking all of the boxes as they come through it. So at two specific timestamps during that round, you want to be popping the Stingray if you don't plan on using the Stingray anywhere else in the round, in the later rounds, and using that trick. Like, that's something that, like, it's just really specific, and you just have to know about it. But I think Salmon Run is really cool, and is a neat part of the game that I'm glad they're expanding on and keeping, because there's like a whole community of players who just play Salmon Run, and like that's what they do. There was an event at Genesis 7, which was a big major back in 2020, where they had a Salmon Run contest, and people flew to California specifically just to play Salmon Run. Like, not even competitive Splatoon 2. Maybe they made a pickup, maybe they even didn't. Maybe they were just there for Salmon Run, and that was it. No other fighting games, no nothing. I think that's really neat. That's a dedicated community, and I love those little dedicated communities that pop up around games. Those are always so good to be a part of. Shoutouts to Project M. Project M is a scene very near and dear to my heart. Found an appreciation for Pan and Detroit Deep Dish. I don't know about Detroit deep dish. Like, is that different from Chicago style deep dish? But I have significant experience with Chicago style deep dish pizza. I think that it is very good. It's definitely, you know, there's a time and place for it because it takes so long to make. But some of the best pizza I ever ate was at Gino's East. Chicago deep dish. So highly recommend checking them out if you ever get the opportunity. Very good place. We waited like 2.5 hours for that pizza, and it was totally worth it. In the snow, mind you, too. Like, that place is in Chicago. It is very cold in the winters, and we just kind of stood out there in, like, the teens of degrees for that pizza, because there was a line out the door. But, I'm not gonna, like, turn around and diss New York-style pizza either. It's not like there's a culture war in my head about it. I'm not gonna be all, like, nationalistic about what kind of pizza I like. New York-style pizza is great, too. It has the problem of structural integrity, but it tastes really good. So, like, each their own, right? But why not enjoy both things, because they're both awesome. Scotty, there's someone. Okay. Whew. I was worried. I was like, because my thinking was I'm flushing this player out so that Scotty can deal with them for me. And what I was worried ended up happening there was that I pushed someone towards Scotty and that Scotty didn't see, and that Scotty was going to get splatted because of my decisions. But they caught it. Because I realized as I went around the corner, Scotty was looking up at someone on the grates. So they might not have been paying attention to it. Oh, good. That was not a great time for a second player to join that fight. Pizza is mainly a thin and crunchy crust. Oh, New York's. Gotcha. I do definitely prefer chewy crusts. If I had to, you know, make a choice. But again, like, it's just two different kinds of food, and they're both pretty good. Salmon is nice because you don't get squid bagged. Or you can squid bag the fishies. Yeah, squid bagging in Salmon Run is generally a very moral thing to do. Also, smurfing in Salmon Run is really fun because it's just not, you don't feel bad about it. You're just like helping your little kids and you're probably showing them some tricks for how to play the game better as they watch you play. It's like, there's no downside to it. Stingrays need to be knocked out. Yeah, flyfish, believe it or not, are the most common boss that splats people in Salmon Run. So yes, you definitely do need to deal with stingers before too many of them show up, but flyfish also. Those things can really take up a lot of map space in a hurry. Savory pizzas are good. I will never eat a dessert pizza. I haven't had too many dessert pizzas, but the ones that I had were pretty good. Problem with Detroit style is that it seems too bready while also being too oily. Also, square cut pizza is worse. I've only tried Detroit style. Huh, interesting. Back in the lobby, hi. I recommend pizza. I think pizza's pretty neat. That's the fullest extent that it is for me. I don't think there is a kind of pizza that I haven't liked for the format of the pizza. If I don't like a pizza, it's because, like, the ingredients were bad, or it was poorly prepared or something. Or it had something on it that I didn't like. But it's, like, hard to go wrong with dough combined with cheese and tomato sauce. And then insert other toppings here. It's very customizable. It's easy to put your own personal spin on, but it's still always, like, recognizable and, like, you know what you're getting when you order it. More or less. How? Wow, how did that miss? I thought I was dead there. That's crazy. They actually went for a fall-off shot. Drizzlers are also stealthily dangerous. Yeah. Drizzlers, I feel like they're a little bit easier just because the projectile they shoot out is more predictable. Like, where missiles land is a little bit inconsistent. And that inconsistency makes it a little bit more difficult to avoid. Whereas rain, it's like, there's this circle, it's going to go in this direction, and so you have a very straight line in your brain, like, avoid this, and you're good. It's also not immediately lethal, so you can stay in it for longer than you can stay on where a missile's gonna land. Don't notice how damaged you are until a chum splats you. You do start learning as you get more experience with the game, both in multiplayer and in Salmon Run. You start to, like, be able to gauge how many shots you can take just based on the, like, thing around the screen, the ink splatter around it. Again, another missed flick. I'm not trying to, like, take shots at their aim. I'm just genuinely surprised that a flick that is aimed the way they are aiming it misses me according to the mechanics of the game. Like, I'm surprised that the weapon functions in that way. Or rather, fails to function in that way. Do you think you might have been playing long enough that fatigue is affecting your gameplay? Right now? I mean, I've been playing for like 4 hours, probably. I'm not taking this super seriously either. Like, if I probably wouldn't want to play ranked in this state. I would probably at least want to eat some food, especially with all you freaking talking about pizza. I would definitely want to eat some food before I went and tried to play seriously on my competitive team or in ranked. But I'm just grinding for levels in Turf War. I'm not really paying a ton of attention to what I'm doing. I'm talking to chat, that sort of thing. Kelp Dome positioning is still really new to me. Certain backliney weapons anyway. You mean playing against backline weapons or playing as backline weapons? Yeah, this is I would say this is the strongest Hydra map in the game, based on what I've seen from Devi. I was talking about pizza, I don't think this is super serious. Yes. I'm doing my best, but I'm taking a major L tonight. Don't worry about it, don't worry about it. Turf War is much more mixed skill level, especially when people are stream sniping me. So you're going to run up against players that you wouldn't see in Ranked. Ranked lets you progress more at your own pace, but Turf War can get some very mixed lobbies where single players have pretty dominant performances. And that's okay. As long as they don't try to make you play Turf War competitively. There are the Koshin tournaments, which are like the exception to the rule that Turf War is generally not a competitive game mode, but I just think it is objectively worse. Like, there's no reason not to play in them if you have fun playing them, but like, it's not as competitive. If I'm trying to decide who the best Splatoon player is, I'm not looking at how well they do in Turf War. Darn. I was hoping that that would help Trash Boat, because I thought Trash Boat was further forward and like engaging the enemy. But then I was like, oh, nope, this is just on 2 players who are in their base, and they will be completely safe from anything we're doing here. By the way, whoever it was that was saying that they're trying to learn backline positioning, Devi makes these backline positioning maps, which I think she's made like publicly available to people. I've been showing them off in the map mode guides that I make for a given map mode, and I'm pretty sure I did make one on Kelp Dome Rainmaker, I think it was. So you can see there, at least in that video, if not in the Google Drive that Debbie has of these things, you can see which positions she prefers to take on the Hydra. And she is specifically a Hydra main at a competitive level, so that would be a good place to at least get some ideas. Debbie also has a very good memory. She will remember specifically which positions she took so that she can mix them up later. So she can analyze, like, okay, this worked against this kind of weapon, but not against this kind of weapon. Against these weapons, I want to take these positions. Against these weapons, I want to take these instead. Hi, Kepler. Afternoon. So that means that you're Australian, I think. Or maybe Filipino or something. I don't know. But I did time zone math. What if pizza ends up being an important mechanic in Splatoon 3? Just think, the crust bucket could get replaced by a new pizza parlor that can raise your level progression with their signature family recipe. Whoa. They're in the resources in the Discord. Perfect, yeah. Is there a best Splatoon player? In solo queue, yes. I would say that Chocopero has earned the right to that title. They've just gotten consistently higher powers than everybody else. In team environment, it's a little bit harder to say. You might try to break it down by, like, what role they play. Who's the best support player? Who's the best backliner? That might be a way that you think about it. But even then, it's really hard to determine because a lot of the different communities don't play against each other as much. The answer is probably that they're Japanese players, just because the Japanese teams, the Japanese competitive scene is bigger. And so they have a bigger pool of players to choose from, which will always lead to teams generally being stronger. But I'm not well attuned enough to the Japanese competitive scene to be able to say in a team context who it is right this moment. It seemed from the Splat World Championships that Melon was in the conversation, but I don't know. I feel like they got kind of bought by Nyagora in their matches there. Nyagora is the player who has impressed me the most recently. I think that player is just an absolute monster, and that any team that has him would be immensely stronger for it. But again, that's just based on like one tournament that I saw. I'm not an expert on what the Japanese scene is doing, on who's in the Japanese scene. It would be a lot easier if I spoke the language to follow those kinds of things. Legs, that position is actually really exposed. They call it snipe in the callouts, but I think that's like one of the last places that a Hydra would want to stand. You usually prefer to be on the grates because your run speed lets you use the grates more effectively than most players, on top of your range being able to shut players down from approaching you at all. How long are you streaming for tonight? I'll probably go till I reach level 10 and stop there, and then we'll be able to do some... We'll want to do some ranked next, and we're well past the Rainmaker rotation that I initially started the stream to try and do, because I was like, yeah, I'll just get the Explo and I'll start playing Rainmaker on this account. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not how that's gonna work. We have a new account, yes. I tried to jump to spawn and booyah instead, and then you killed me. Yeah, sometimes you mess that up, and then you are sad. Yeah, that position right there is really good. Like, I don't know what I do against the Hydra who's on that position. I guess I throw more bombs? Okay, whew. See, what you have to be careful about is me using a bomb to force you close to me. That's a common strat that you're going to see from, like, Splattershot players. Hi there! Hi. So, Legs, in that position right there, I'm anticipating that one of your teammates probably ouched on the right side of the map. And when you see an ouch that happens at that angle away from you, that's something that you immediately want to be watching, because that means that the flank is probably coming through. Checking stream and got jumped? Okay, so it was checking stream. Let's see how close I am to level 10. I might end a little early just because I'm getting hungry. Oh yeah, I'm not super close at all. I'll probably get level 9 and then stop there. Officially on a Splatoon team, congratulations! I don't know how to pronounce your tag, unfortunately, but proud of you. Oh wait, was that German? That is German, okay. Congrats, German. What team? Grinding for new weapon? Yes, we're grinding for the Explosher. Did I call this stream Explosher debut? I actually feel bad about that. Like, I didn't even mean for that to be clickbait. Because, like, there's no chance in heck that we get the Explosher in just one day. But, like, I just legitimately did not, like, think about the fact that it was going to take time to unlock it before I titled the stream. Doing clickbait always skeeves me out. Like... Yeah, obviously you want to, like, make your videos interesting to watch, but making, like, a false promise or an exaggerated promise or something is really gross to me. It's like, that's how you're choosing to spend your time, and I'm tricking you into spending it in a way that financially benefits me. That's gross to me. But, also, like, titling it's, like, Schlorp to X Part 7 is not interesting and is not going to get anybody to click on it. Why are there 2 Hydras? I hate this. You have to grind every time you do a weapon to X rank? So the weapon to X series, all that I had to do to start that one off was get to the arrow spray, which you get at level 6. So that was one nice thing about having to play Aerospray. It was that I was able to start streaming with that weapon very early on, even in ranked. Like, as soon as I unlocked ranked, I was able to already play it. Get over the top, thank you. And then I was able to use the superior level grinding that you can do in ranked to unlock the other weapons, which took longer. And so that was like level... You get the heavy at like 9 or 10 or something, and then the range and the GooTube are the ones that I really had to grind for the most. Those were like level 22 and 23. But with those, I was able to be playing ranked on 2 different rotations, 2 different kinds of rotations, before I ever unlocked them. And so that helped a lot. I'm hoping that I can kind of get the GooTuber and Grim Range 2x in a reasonable amount of time, so that by the time I have the Explo unlocked, there are a couple of other rotations that I'm ready to do on this file. So I'm not literally just doing the Explo here, that I have like maybe one other mode that I've gotten to X rank, and I'm able to like do 2 modes on this file and 2 modes on the other file, and that way I'm leveling up for this file in a reasonably fast fashion. Stop running into the Hydra? No, make me. Inked. Oh, I know those players. Yeah, that's a solid team to be a part of. Nice look over your gameplay. Yeah, VOD reviewing is a whole new world of, like, learning the game faster. Unless you have a literal photographic memory, there's no way on earth that you are going to remember every interaction and why it went the way that it did in a given game. It takes a VOD review to be able to spot those things. Weird looking Explosion. Yeah, I was just talking about how this is kind of... I unintentionally clickbaited people because I need to grind to get the Explosher. I'm level 8, I need to be level 18. So it's not going to happen as quickly as one stream. Can't see my forehead. I feel that, Patrick. I feel that. Why'd you have to splat the player that I missiled? Now my missiles don't do anything. Hi there. Hydra on the right. Throw a bomb. The double roll there made it so that you were frozen in place and could not move. So I was able to just fire and forget. Clickbait for shame. My click was baited. I'm so sorry. You'll never get that click back either. It's mine now. The damage is irreparable. Worth a shot. Or 7. Oh, hi. Please stop what you are doing. Thank you. Oh, shoot. It's 2 people. You probably could have kept range by just right side peeking me over the ledge there, rather than dropping on me. Dropping on me makes it a lot easier for me to hit my shots without making it easier for you to hit your shots by very much. So, like, what I mean is, if someone's down below me, just right side peek around this ledge. And then you're a much smaller target, and you can still hit that pretty easily. I should die for this, yep. Took way too many shots before moving. I have all the clicks, Gem. Aww, shucks. I like the idea that every time someone watches something you made, you've collected their click and are amassing them. Yes, yes, they are all mine, all of my clicks. All of them are my clicks, and I am using them to farm cookies. Just had Cookie Clicker at the ready, huh? Yeah, there was an opening monologue that actually brought Cookie Clicker in a way that made sense, believe it or not. You're gonna have to believe me on this one. Is it making the sound when I'm clicking them? One sec. I'm checking my audio levels, seeing if they go up when I click. Yeah, it is making the noise. That's the noise of me clicking cookies. No, I don't have a problem. What are you talking about? One click equals... Oh, no, it's not just one cookie anymore. It's a lot of cookies. It's in the millions of cookies at this point for every click. Man, and now I'm talking about food again, and I'm still hungry. I'm so oppressed. Oh! Oh, we got him! Nice. Need to eat as much as possible for the graduation party. As many cookies as possible, yeah, so we can feed them to all of the people who are going to be... in attendance. Gotta have snacks, you know? Alright, so the way you play around a Hydra in Kelp is you avoid them. That's the entire answer. That is your game plan. There are so many angles they can take that you cannot contest on this map. It's stupid. Grates just inherently favor long-range splatlings. That's just really powerful for them, because they're going to use the run speed anyway to already be walking around as fast as they can. I had to draw attention to myself. I had to open my big fat mouth. So that's going to make them more mobile on the grates than anybody else is, except for maybe a brush. And it's also going to give them this, like, unprecedented sightline to everywhere else on the map because there's no cover that they can't see over. Just, like, perfectly designed to be a Splatling's paradise. And on top of that, it's one of the longest range weapons in the game, contestable only by an E-Leader, which has very limited places that it can stand on this map due to it needing clear line of sight, so not being able to do fall-off shots, for example, and just having relatively few positions that are safe, because it's not going to walk while shooting the way that a Hydra is. Well, we'll get him eventually. There we go. So what I'm doing at the end there, you can see that spot on the right. I'm setting things up so that ink falls on the ground after the game is over. They were firing their main weapon, so they stopped firing their main weapon because you automatically do that when the game ends. But I had a suction bomb down and missiles falling. So the area around them was painted, and the bomb exploded, covering up the ink that they put down with their main weapon. So I ended up winning the ink trade in the last 5 seconds of the game there. That's a turf war tactic, which can make a difference in a close match. So I will get any competitive. Awesome. And let me know if you ever want any kind of support, Bunny Hugger. Like, just ask questions in the Discord server, DM me, whatever it is you want to do. And I am happy to help you out with whatever you might be encountering. I have a whole bunch of videos about that sort of thing as well on YouTube, but I'm happy to help because I want people to have a good time with it. Bit of practice at the reunion as well. Awesome. I feel like the reunion is going to be a great opportunity for people who have never played with callouts before to try it out once. I'm hoping to have my callouts video done by then so that people can use that for reference, but it's just... There are only so many opportunities where people without access to, you know, the competitive resources are going to think to get 4 players together to be able to play League. In an online game, that's, you know, kind of uncommon. You usually do that sort of thing with your friends, and, like, everyone knows the experience of not having friends who play Splatoon. I'm flushing out probably with that. Oh, shoot. He got flushed out, but the teammate wasn't looking when it happened. I would like to think that that booyah helped my teammate know what they needed to focus on. That bomb was an accident. I was just trying to substrate there. Callouts being spam booyah in this way, right? No, that is not what that means. 0 friends? No, not 0 friends. Just 0 friends who play Splatoon 2. But that is a common denominator. In case people don't know what I mean by callouts, callouts are when you're on a voice call